it basically boils down to if Nebraska's winning enough,
Yeah.
I just don't think the fan base will care.
The funny thing to me about the whole thing, and Shafe brought up a good point with this, is we kind of bemoan guys that leave, and we're like, "Oh man, can't afford to leave," and get all upset. And then we, in the same sentence on the other side of our mouth, say, "Oh well, they're not going to get drafted," or "Oh, they'll never make it." We almost try and disregard their contributions while at the same time being upset that they're leaving because it's going to be hard to replace them. And both of those things cannot be true at the same time, right? They're either good enough to get drafted, which is why you're upset that they're leaving, or they're not good enough to get drafted, which means they're replaceable, right?
Has there ever been a stretch where, I mean, Brandon Jackson came to mind because I couldn't believe the
outrage?
Yeah. And I liked him a ton. So
I did
felt,
too. I was weirdly a Brandon Jackson guy.
And it bugged him.
And I liked how he ran.
It bugged him.
He was from Mississippi, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real
good back.
And I don't, he just didn't love the fact that people didn't understand that he wanted to. He's like, any money I'm making is more than what I'm making for my family.
Yeah.
And so whatever it was a third round or whatever.
Yeah, this is a different conversation 20 years later.
Right?
Right?
AG, third round, could have come back or whatever it was. I'm like, guys, we don't even know like the situation.
Right.
Right. But I just don't know when Nebraska will
get past that.
Yeah. Like I'm more mad at my colleagues and peers for how they got into the weeds with the James Williams stuff than I was James Williams.
Second round for Brandon Jackson, by the way. So obviously he got at least some decent advice.
So, like, what? At some point, that can't bother us. And maybe it is. Maybe it is only a small section.
Maybe.
But it doesn't seem like it, though.
So you're right. The Knighton thing was worse.
I'd let that go.
The Knighton thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, okay. I don't get it. It was unnecessary. But just because I wouldn't do it.
So most of the excuses we make for James Williams don't apply to Knighton. Young, maybe I'm a little emotionally immature, maybe doesn't know better. Like Knighton should know better, right? And I think what it is for me, it isn't about James Williams leaving, right? We talked about this yesterday, I think, where
he's going to want to go with the guy that took care of him.
Right. So I understand that. And if he looks at a situation and he goes, hey, I need my relationship, I need a little bit of money, and I want to be with Coach Knighton. And those are the three things he's looking for, and those boxes get checked. I get it. I get why
and maybe he wanted to be away from what was going on here.
And frankly,
that was a little toxic.
Sure. I do think I think part of it with James Williams specifically is that it feels like we took a chance on him when no one else was willing to, and he doesn't seem grateful for that. I think that bothers people. I'm not saying he should feel grateful, but I think people want him to have some gratitude for what Nebraska did for him and put him in a position where he could go to a place like Florida State.
You want an example of what you're talking about?
Sure.
Just protecting holistically the person.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think there's anybody in the state, in the media, that had a better relationship with James Williams than I did?
Probably not.
You think James Williams trusts me to talk?
Probably.
Okay. So I called Keith Mann,
mm-hmm.
and I said, hey, this is on the heels of him having the emotional hug and the embrace with Coach Knighton.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, hey, Captain, want to follow protocol. Can I get an interview request with James?
Mm-hmm.
I said, it's safe. This is a true story.
Yeah.
I'm just going to tell you how good the university is.
Mm-hmm.
In particular, Keith and Coach Rule. And Keith's like, well, we're a little sensitive with that. Why don't you just ask Coach Rule? And I was like, okay. Didn't want to go over your head, yada, yada, yada.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked Coach Rule, and he said, hey, normally I would say yes. I don't want too much too fast. Let's pass this time around. Come back to me in a year, and we'll see where we're at.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm like,
you're trying to protect this guy.
I'm like, I'm just giving you me originally. I'm like, because I wasn't that easy.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, come on, man. I said, it's me. In my head. I didn't say it out loud.
Yeah.
So when we hung up, I texted back and I was like, I said, I could understand that. Baby steps. And he, did the little fist pound thing. The more sometimes you turn people over to themselves,
mm-hmm.
the less it comes across as loving.
Sure. Yeah.
I think he's just loving them through the situation, right? Like trying to make the most
Yeah.
of, hey, this guy doesn't always need a microphone.
Sometimes you understand their limitations better than they understand their own limitations.
100%.
And it may feel like
And he was protecting him from himself.
Mhm.
Although, even though he was the same guy
Mhm.
that he turned loose on official recruiting visits at the player podium.
Yeah.
But do you know what he said? You have to be able to have somebody tell the story, the good and the bad, so everybody has
Mhm.
the same facts. So in that environment,
Yeah, it's a different environment.
he's willing to turn him loose because it was him, Canuck, and Carol Jackson,
Mm-hmm.
which was a very interesting dynamic.
It's a strange group.
They're all powerful in their own way. You know, VCJ was very appreciative of finding him when they did on the recruiting trail and investing in him and conversations. Williams was about the opportunities they afforded him off the field more than on the field, right? Meeting him right where he was at. And Canuck is the guy that he's still waxing poetic about, which I find very interesting. He's on the Canuck and Segrin thing. And I liked Segrin. And I remember we talked about him on the show as kind of the number 2 tackle, and people were mortified, and I get it. He was a little guy kind of at the time.
Yeah.
But when's the last time you remember him going into depth over 2 guys, both personally and how they're progressing from a developmental standpoint?
Yeah,
it's usually one or the other.
Yeah, he doesn't do it very often.
If at all.
Yeah, he doesn't do it very often. He doesn't single guys out very often in general, right?
Yeah, and that's Canuck and Segrin in back-to-back.
And if he's going to single guys out, it's usually about what they're doing off the field.
Yeah.
Right? He wants to talk about, what they're doing for the program and things like that, kind of who they are as people. It's even more rare that he talks about what they're doing on the field specifically. But to do both, as you mentioned, with 2 guys in back-to-back.
He talked about the people that Canuck had come in contact with where he, held the camera or mowed the yard or it's clear, at least in my opinion, the culture that they're trying to build. And some of it isn't even football related. And we have to just be patient.
I would say most of it is not directly football related.
We just have to be patient because if he's going to withstand this volatile time, he's going to have as many constants as possible.
Yeah.
I think that's his countermeasure. I think he wants to work smarter longer as opposed to scrambling in the short term. That's why he's building the culture that you don't want to leave and to make sure you do have all the information and you know what I mean? It's like I don't know. I think you can just see what he's trying to do.
I can for sure. I do think, and I think it's worth bringing up in this conversation, there's only so many places you can make that play.
Yeah.
Right? Because Nebraska is going to be competitive with the money. Right? They're going to be competitive with the NIL.
I agree.
There's probably some places that would like to try and do it this way, but there's such a gap between their NIL and what other people are offering that you can't make up the difference with culture, right? You can't make up the difference with some of the other things. The fact that Nebraska is always going to be competitive on the money side of things gives Coach Rhule an opportunity to do things like this where he can say, hey, I want to make this a place you don't want to leave. We may not be your best offer, but we're going to be a good offer. It's going to be competitive. And the money's not going to be so different that you're going to look at it and go, most kids won't look at it and go, oh, I have to leave. I'd be doing myself a disservice if I don't leave, right? If you're making $100,000 one place and somebody else offers you $1 million and it's a real offer, you're doing yourself a disservice not to look at it, right? But if you're offering $900,000 at Nebraska and somebody else is offering you $1 million to go someplace else, then you're looking at it and you're going, okay, those numbers are close enough.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
That maybe other things are worth the extra $100,000 at Nebraska versus going to this other place. Maybe they will develop me better and I can play for long money in the NFL as opposed to the short money in college. Or maybe I will have better recovery and I'll end up healthier or I'll end up with my degree or whatever, right?
Can you see where he's trying to put other tools in the tool belt? And like, let's say you just need a hammer, a saw, and a tape measure to play football. where he's trying to give you the screwdriver, the
Give you like
T-square, the
drill bits, all
the,
like
the other
yeah.
stuff, and not in case it doesn't go the way you want to, but to help you go the way that he wants it to.
Well, and I think that he realizes on some level that even if everything goes exactly how you want it to, right? Exactly how you want it to. You come to Nebraska. Let's say you want to play for 3 years and go to the NFL. And then you want to play in the NFL for 12 years. That's a great career. That's multiple contracts, right? That's that long money we're talking about here. Let's say you're Levante David. Like, let's say your career.
So you're going super best case scenario.
Yeah, I'm saying like it goes exactly how you want it to. At some point, Levante David is going to need the other tools in the tool belt at some point, right? Ndamukong Suh at some point needed the other tools in the tool belt. And whether it's the businesses that he's investing in or the construction company stuff that he does or whatever, right? Like that money, the NFL money, whatever it is, the NFL career doesn't last forever unless you have the other tools, right? It can give you enough money to have a really nice head start. But most people are going to need the other tools, unless you're Tom Brady, who made enough money that he didn't really have to have any other tools. But unless you're Tom Brady, you're going to need other tools in your tool belt to figure out, okay, how do I make this money last me for the rest of my life? How am I in a good position to be a good husband, father, person, whatever, pillar of the community, whatever, right? At some point, it ends, and you have to have other things that you're equipped for. And how many times do we see guys don't? We hear all these tragic stories about what happens to guys when they retire, or they run out of money, or they have problems at home,
or just being kind of a whole person too. I think,
or they're just depressed, right? They're just not. They have no fulfillment in their life because they don't know what else to do now. That's what we're talking about here. And if you can get guys, and I know it's really, really hard at 18 years old to see that picture when you're 35 or 40 and saying this is what matters, because the football stuff, there's a lot of places that can get you to the NFL. There's a lot of places to get you to the NFL, especially if you're a good player.
Did you hear Kirby Smart in his presser the other day?
Not all of it.
Talking about he had guys stand up and raise their hand that had been through 3 or more spring practices, and how barely anybody raised their hand, and how he had a young team, and the standard isn't really the standard right now because guys don't know how to practice and they're getting tired. And he said they're not responsive to coaching. And I thought it was interesting that at this stage in his career, with what they had built, that the culture isn't taking over.
Sure. But when you've got this much movement, it's hard.
It just to hear it from the other side. I'll see if I can find it.
Well, because there was a moment.
I was captivated.
You've told me about this, right? There was a moment in 96 when you're sitting there, and that culture in 92, 93, 94, 95 was pretty set, right? 93, 94, 95, yeah. Pretty set, right? And then you get to 96,
2 was
and you've told me there's stuff as leaders you wish you would have done differently.
Yeah.
Right?
I was pretty honest about that.
So even in that situation where like that looked as 94, 95 especially, that looked as rock solid as a culture as we'll ever see, right? And you go and just 1 year removed, and this is pre-transfer portal. Yeah. Just 1 year removed, there was enough erosion in terms of just guys, right? Enough of the guys that were important to that culture left, just moving on to the next part of their career, that there was a little gap. There was a little gap in that. Now you add in a transfer portal. You add in Georgia, where you've had a ton of guys. I mean, as many guys leaving Georgia for the NFL that were leaving Nebraska for the NFL at the time, plus the transfer portal. It's really easy for me to see how, like, if you don't have enough connective tissue left, like, there's no structure. There's no culture left.
And it
can happen fast.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to butcher it. But he talks about having a house versus a home.
Coach Rule?
Yes.
Yeah. You brought this up to me before.
And how he wants to make Nebraska a home. He said anyone can have a house.
Yeah, it's just a place you live.
We're building a home.
This is what to return to.
This is what we want in our home. And sure as I'm sitting here, it's just intentional. It's going to be the way that he's going to combat and attract transfers. It's going to be the way that he can still go out and recruit at high school. What did he just slide in the other day when he said, hey, if you're a guy that doesn't really care that you'll have to go back and get something or change something that you've told a potential recruit, sure, knock yourself out during this stretch. We need to be a little more careful so we don't have to apologize, so we can be the people that we said we are. Because he knows, like, the countermeasures to beating the tests are in how calm, cool, and collected you could be leading up to it.
It sounds so simple and honestly kind of stupid, but he's said this before about just coaches being who they say they are. Like, that's the cheat code to the transfers, right? Because, and it sounds so dumb and too simple, right? It sounds, and it, again, this is a simple versus easy thing. It sounds too simple to just say, hey, if we tell you this, this is what's going to happen. Yeah. If we say you're going to get this amount of money, that's the amount of money you're going to get. If we say you're going to have this opportunity, X, Y, and Z, that's the truth. If we say, hey, you'll be on the 105, you'll be on the 105.
And what did he say? He put himself on the clock, right, up against the wall. He said, now, if you said, I don't trust this guy, he's lied to me.
He said, all right, go ahead.
He's like, okay, I get it.
All bets are off, right?
Yeah.
How many guys do you think that's actually true of?
That's what I'm saying.
Like, none, probably.
It's, I mean.
Now, he may have told some guys things they didn't want to hear.
But I thought it was interesting because there's power in that. Like, you know, sometimes
not just power, there's freedom in that.
Yeah, well, sometimes if I'm telling a story, it's conflict resolution. And sometimes I'll say, hey, you know, stop me when I tell a lie.
Yeah.
If you don't stop me, or I'm telling you the story, then that's letting you know you got to take some ownership and kind of what's going on out here.
Yeah.
You know, and I think he left himself open to, man, you didn't, you know, James isn't going to say you didn't tell me the truth. Bear isn't going to say you didn't tell me the truth.
You think anybody that's left would say that it's because Coach Rhule didn't tell him the truth? Anybody?
No.
Right? Everybody left for other reasons. A little bit more money over here, a little bit better opportunity over there. Like, I get why Danny Kaelin moved on.
Yeah, me too.
Opportunity.
I told you, I'm not.
Right? Don't have any problem with it.
None.
Totally understand. He wanted a chance. And this is why I brought up the opportunity thing early on as a thing that I sort of get conflicted about, right? Because I look at a guy like Danny Kaelin, and Danny Kaelin probably looks at it and goes, okay, I'm in the same class as Dylan Raiola. I'm probably not going to get a chance to play.
Yeah. So you know the byproduct of that?
Even if he's super competitive, right?
Did you catch when he went into the two camps and he said there'll be some guys that just aren't going to be good enough, and
yeah,
they're going to say, hey, I just want to be here? Well, he said, well, we'll have to weigh that decision.
Yeah.
Right? Which lets me know you still have a job to do. You still have to perform in such a way.
Absolutely.
Where you're giving me at least the inkling that you're trying.
But they're going to tell him the truth in that situation too.
100%.
Right? That's why I brought up the 105. They told the guys that weren't going to be on the 105, and earlier than they had to, right? Because I'm sure Coach Rhule had an inkling that they might try and taper this thing, right? Because a lot of other people did. Now, but he wanted to be fair to those guys and say, hey, you're probably not going to make it. Right now, you're on the outside looking in. Or, hey, you're fighting for one of those spots, but I can't make any guarantees. Or, hey, you're going to be on the 105, right? That's a situation where some of the guys told him, hey, I'm at Nebraska till you kick me out, right? Or some of the guys said,
one guy told him that, and I think he's going to end up playing. Like, they tried to get rid of him.
Yeah.
He just wasn't having it.
And then you have other guys
who's going to play
that are like, okay, I'm going to take this to go move on and try and find other opportunities. Yeah. And I don't begrudge them for that either, right? That's why, like, I sit here and I go, listen, I love competition. I love it when there's
So I got something for you.
Yeah.
On that. Do you know what I think he's ultimately talking about?
What's that?
This may be a reach.
Okay.
So, I mean, feel free to give pushback. I think the environment in which those guys are practicing, it trims its own fat.
Sure.
So it is so competitive within those position groups. Like, those guys know when they're not meeting the standard. That's the point that they're getting. I'm serious. I saw it first with the O-line. O-line reveals itself. Listen,
Well,
If you're the
and
one
Donnie
that's not
doesn't mess around.
if you're the one that's not like the others,
Yeah.
it reveals itself. So you got options. You can either go find something else different to do,
Yeah.
or keep grinding. And if you keep grinding, see, they'll know.
And there's some
And you know where else you're starting to see it?
where's that?
In the secondary.
Defensive backs room, yeah.
In the secondary.
Which is not a place you would typically identify as where that would happen.
No, but that's the three guys.
Yeah.
That listen. That's Snow, that's Addison Williams, and that's Butler.
Mm-hmm.
Like the standard is clearly the standard. So, like
Yeah.
you don't want to get to the point where you take yourself out, but you do want to get to the point where you say, man, that's on me. Right? I didn't start running plays out 45, 50 yards routinely until it was so awkward that I was one of the only three that wasn't.
Yeah. There's some, and there's a negative connotation to this term, but there's some peer pressure that could be positive there about like, hey, do it the right way, knock it off.
That's how you want it.
Yeah.
That's
there
how you
has
want
to
it.
be some internal pressure from your peers
Yeah.
to say, hey, that's not how we do things. Right? We always talk about peer pressure as a bad thing. About like, oh, they're trying to convince me to do this. Sometimes it's, hey, this is how it works here. Either get on board or get out.
Yeah. And then you eventually get to the point
where it weeds itself out a little bit.
Where Singleton or Buford or somebody can say, hey, that away, young buck, or Teddy Prohaska can cheer on Segrin and say, listen, man, that a boy.
Yeah.
So it's different than when Dylan does it with Gramstad, but it's the same with regards to Dylan doesn't have to do it because he's established, but he still wants the best for you.
Yes.
Even though it's kind of independent of him.
Yeah.
It's really no different in the desired outcome of when I want the best for you, and it can totally affect me.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? It's still birthed out of me wanting the best for you.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you want. If you're this is going to sound crazy. That's how you win 14-10 games on Saturday. It isn't. Some of it is talent because you have to be in the position. But when it's nut cutting time, and you don't want to full-fledged wet the bed, it has to be about something other than you.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you. Down 17-9 wasn't talent. Down at the half against Wyoming wasn't talent. Right? We were playing like poop, right? But who wanted to be the next guy to let the next guy down?
Yeah.
That's how you got to think. And when they get to that point where you can truly sharpen iron, even though you're going to get a few sparks, that stuff will go away.
I mean,
and he does it with the staff, man. Like, this dude is relentless.
I sit here and I think about the games that Nebraska's lost over the course of 10 years or whatever, right? And I think about the times that I go, yeah, that team was just better. It's not most of them, right? Especially the close ones, right? There's been times where, Ohio State or Michigan or somebody kicks Nebraska's teeth in. You're like, that team's a lot.
You've only seen it a handful of times.
Right. But there's a handful where you're like, oh, man, that team's just better right now. But the team that won the national championship last year and Nebraska looked an equal to them on the field for 90% of that game didn't look like that was a big talent issue. I watch them lose to a mediocre Iowa team, and I don't go, nah, that's a talent issue. I don't see all the losses to, some of the Wisconsin teams are pretty good, but some of them not a talent issue. Most of the Iowa losses, not a talent issue. Illinois losses, not a talent issue. Minnesota, certainly not a talent issue. I can go through every team in the league, basically. I mean, Nebraska's lost some to Purdue and Northwestern. You think that's a talent issue? I don't care. Like, I will say this blanketly as a blanket statement. There is never a situation where Northwestern or Purdue is going to be more talented than Nebraska. I feel comfortable saying that till the day I die, right? Like, it's just not going to happen. But Nebraska's been losing games to teams like that. That is not a talent issue. That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about, okay, what do you do? What does your team do? What does your position group do when something starts to go wrong? Is it okay? Is it culturally okay in that room to be the guy that makes the next mistake? Yeah. Or is it culturally expected in that room that you're going to step up now? That's the difference.
I I know that's how you're going to win close games.
Yeah. And they're going to have to start to.
I do, because they'll be in several of them.
Give me that cheddar, we getting Rico. Big money and rolls like burritos. Give me that hot sauce, no pico. Give me that.
Howard here with Harrison Phillips. Harrison, this is your 7th Playmakers Camp here in Omaha. As you grow in your NFL career, why has this always remained a priority for you?
You know, it's really special. I don't know what jersey I'm going to wear each season. It's not really up to me. I'm very happy that I've been a part of 2 great organizations. But something that's forever true is this is my high school, and this is where I'm starting a family. I'm building a home here with my wife, who's a Millard West grad. We just had a child who's going to grow up a Nebraskan, and you know, this one means the most.
Standing here in the Millard West gym, what do you think the high school version of you would think, knowing you'll be doing these camps in the future and where you went to high school?
Man, the high school me was pretty cocky. I would say he'd be very proud of himself. I always spoke really big goals and set them really far up. I was kind of laughed at a little bit, being a little freshman saying I'm going to play in the NFL and get full ride scholarships and stuff. But I worked my ass off to make that happen. So I'd be really proud, and I think the most important thing is bringing others along the way. So being able to be out here to these high school students, a thing that I wish I had. I wish I had someone that I could have asked about what it's like going to college, what's it like to get to the next level. And so when we bring these Nebraska football players out and these high school kids, I want to be a resource to them as well as use my platform for these pups.
At Centris Federal Credit Union, we have the tools and resources to help our members fulfill their financial goals, with a focus on building a stronger community for the next generation of leaders. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
What makes Banana Ball work so well in terms of the fans, the support, and everything that's gone with it?
I think it's just the breaking down the barrier between fan and player. When you go to a Major League Baseball game, even though there might not be a barrier, it might just be a net, there's a distinct barrier where like players and fans don't really interact during the game. And we're bringing fans onto the field, into our game. Like every fan that comes to our game is going to be involved somehow. Every single one of them. They're all going to be involved if they want to be. So I guess that's my advice too. When you come to a Bananas game, be open to doing anything. Don't say no to an opportunity. My niece actually, we do a fan warm up before every game. We have a little girl come on the field and dance, and the whole stadium follows the dance moves. My niece said no because she was nervous. And to this day, every single day I see her, she's like, I want to do the fan warm up. I want to do the fan warm up. So like, when you come to a game, just be open to doing whatever.
Man, let me ask you, let me transition to a hoops question because as we've been talking about this in-state recruiting, and let's just take the last 8 years as the profile has been extremely elevated on the national level. Not taking anything away from anybody previous. I mean, Ron Kellogg was really good. In the last 8 years, do you feel it's more gosh, I almost want to throw baseball into this too because baseball produces such fantastic collegiate talent.
It has for a really long time here.
But let's just keep it to basketball and football. You feel like it's easier to justify garnering in-state talent in hoops or football, given the success of each sport at the high school level the last 8 years?
First of all, I do think this is a really, really, really nuanced conversation.
That's why I asked you, because you're pretty smart.
Yeah, so like I think you guys all made really good points about what should matter in the pecking order of trying to make yourself the destination, whether it's locally or nationally, and how that tracks with being, competitive nationally as well. It's funny because just to tie it into Creighton, because I have more expertise in how they've been built. Like Jason Green, for example, did not grow up a Creighton guy, even though Creighton was, I guess, what you would consider relevant during his childhood.
Yeah.
Like it took so like that's what I mean. Like I think we're in an era where it doesn't matter how good you are, and then where you are proximity wise. Like you still have to sell yourself on why that's a fit for that particular athlete, because they know
as the institution. You mean?
Yes.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay.
And because I think as players know now, especially as they have more agency over their careers, fit is really important. You know what I mean? It's not like recruiting has changed. The pie in the sky stuff isn't as effective as like, will I be happy here? Period. You know what I mean? Like it's not about. I don't think the recruiting wars are fought under the same parameters anymore as they used to be. So from a local standpoint, I think whether it's Nebraska football or Creighton basketball, make the main thing is kind of always like that's what the programs I think that are doing it the right way just continue to do, because whether it's Mac or Flan or Booth or Ed or Johnny or anybody at Nebraska, whether Rule, all the points he's making about losing, kids to the Big 12 because they're not necessarily in on them early. Making the main thing is your selling point always first and foremost. So as long as you're doing the right things from a developmental standpoint, from a process standpoint, and then it translates into, the success when the spotlight clicks on, I think you'll always kind of have a footprint in your local habitat to attract good talent regardless. But that's the first part of it. You can't try to be this haven for local talent and say like, under no circumstances can we let these kids leave if you're not even doing the main thing right, in my opinion.
So what's funny, Matt, is especially with Creighton, that might be the only program in state, Creighton men's basketball, that doesn't, at least to my recollection, that basically gets zero pushback when either they don't offer a guy or he doesn't come here. And it's, I think, for a couple of reasons. Number one, what you said, the main thing's the main thing. They're winning, and they've been a winning program for a while. And two, I think their evals are so good and so trusted because they were the only ones in on like a Kyrie Thomas. They were the very first ones in on like a Justin Patton. They believe
Nebraska was in first. Creighton was just more patient
on Patton
with the academics.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
But
Nebraska didn't think they could get him eligible.
They've been either the first ones in, the only ones in, more they've endured longer on certain guys.
Yeah, they hung in there.
Their track record is so good, not only with the guys they do take, but also just overall as a program. We almost look at them like we did, and I get these are very different levels of excellence, but we almost look at them like we did 90s Huskers, where it's like, hey, if you don't take an in-state guy, there's a reason, right? And you kind of just get it's going to be okay because we trust the pedigree and the track record of this particular program right now.
Happer had an amazing I wanted to chime in, but I didn't. He was talking about somebody compared Creighton's their assessment on grabbing guys as a foregone conclusion, and he compared it to Iowa getting offensive linemen.
Yeah, that's a really good comparison.
And I was like, that would have been my first. That would have been my first get. Like, what is somebody? Iowa gets a guy out of the portal, right? You're like, oh shoot, that guy's going to be a good offensive lineman.
Yeah, whether they recruit D2 or never heard of him
because
or whatever
Iowa
else.
gets the. I would say Creighton is the closest thing to that in basketball, where I think they automatically get the benefit of the doubt to the good, or whether they don't offer a guy. Like,
well, I was looking at it from. Not sorry to interrupt, but I was looking at it from the standpoint of just like maybe a couple of weeks ago. It's like, what are their misses? You know what I'm saying? Like, think about what you think of the last. Just go 6-7 years, or to kind of make it an easy exercise or whatever. It's like, what are their misses? Like, think about the guys that even got out of the portal, like especially at the guard and wing spot, like that kind of like where there's multiple responsibilities and there's like it's kind of a tweener position, like Damian Jefferson, massive hit. Denzel Mahoney, massive hit.
So I'll give you a couple that took.
O'Connell.
Now he took the longest. O'Connell took the longest. Who was my guy from the West Coast? Wing shooter.
West Coast.
You're not talking about Kobe Paris, are you?
Nope.
Are you talking about out of high school, or
you're talking about high school or transfer?
Transfer. Was he at Cal? Who was?
Ricky Krecklow.
Yes, Krecklow.
But he was good. That team was bad.
He was
He was good. That team sucked though.
Yep.
Yeah, Krecklow is exactly who I'm thinking of.
But yeah, he became he was a 1A on that team, a leader, a playmaker, like a big important piece in a one and done team. Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why Ravi, you feel the way you feel, because you can't, like, the failure column isn't filled up right now. Like, it's not a hit or miss proposition. It's more of Creighton thinks this guy's their dude. Okay, like think about the conversation we were having last year at this point. Do you think Jemiah Neal was gonna
no
drop delayed numbers against Louisville at Rupp Arena in March?
No. Absolutely
you know what I'm
not.
saying?
No. Krabby Pants next to me was still mad about that signing.
I wasn't thrilled about it.
Like, yeah, he wasn't alone. I'm like, I got questions all summer. Like, what's the deal? So I'm like, well, I mean, what lesson are you? I mean, you guys like to learn the hard way with Mac, don't you? Like, if he sees it, like maybe it's there, and let's let it like play out a little bit. So I think that's what Mac has kind of afforded himself now. It used to be, people used to be far more critical of things up front, and now they're kind of like in Mac we trust mode because the track record's there. It's like, you know what I mean? Jemiah Neal was not an exciting splash of a transfer.
Neither was Damian Jefferson.
Exactly. That's my point. Is like, go back in time as far back as your brain can recall.
So why are you picking guards and wings? You guys should be talking more about bigs, like,
because he's done most of his bigs work out of high school.
But like, you talk about can't miss.
Yeah, I think if we're just talking about transfers though, most of the bigs have been out of high school.
Like, that development has been crazy.
No, it's unreal. Yeah, it's been ridiculous.
So I get it's a high school football reference, but if Amarion Jackson wants to go to Iowa State and he thinks he's going to be Jaden Higgins or Jalen Noel or one of these guys, like, I don't have any problems with that until because I think he's really I'm a big AJ guy.
Yeah, you've been.
I'm a big Amarion guy, and so it's like, how many games do you think Nebraska has to win? You don't have to give me a hard number, Maddie, but if we want to trust Coach Rule's record on the right in-state guys versus not, like, what's the consistency of winning do you think has to happen before we give him the benefit of the doubt? Or is it because it's football, you think it's always going to be tough to offset?
So I think because of the way the sport is shifting a little bit, I think for Rule to kind of earn what we've just got done talking about with Mac, I think it probably needs to be, at least once a recruiting cycle, especially because they still want to, make high school a priority and develop guys through the program and turn them into like kind of Huskers for life, if you will. I think
it sounds a lot like a school down the street, right?
Right. Yeah. I think as long as you're a playoff team once a recruiting cycle minimum, you're doing it the right way. And then from there, the world's your oyster. Like if you explode and all of a sudden turn into a perennial power, then obviously you've done a lot of things the right way, and the steam will pick up from there. But I think as long as once a recruiting cycle, you're a playoff team, not playoff caliber, a playoff team.
Gotcha.
As long as you're on the stage, I think you'll earn the trust of what you're building, and then the message speaks for itself at that point, whether it's locally or nationally.
A lot of our listeners don't know. Ravi and I reference it a ton because it caught me off guard the first couple of years. You come across as a very big Matt Rhule fan. Why? Number one, because I've never really asked you, but you're very good at bringing up stuff from his press conference, or I like this energy, or I like what this is like. What drew you towards Coach Rhule as kind of a quote unquote non-Nebraska guy?
I mean, I hope he doesn't mind me saying it. But I obviously worked with Niatawa, quite a bit, and we're good friends now and everything. Even since he's left the beat, but because he came from Nebraska, and we would always talk about kind of the differences in covering Creighton versus covering Nebraska, even though we cover high-profile sports at Creighton.
Yeah.
And it's just like he said, the toxicity level is just night and day. You know what I mean? Like you're constantly, you're almost like an on-call doctor with drama coming out of Lincoln, as opposed to like Creighton. You can just kind of wake up and approach your day with more of a plan in mind. And I think so I always looked at Nebraska from afar, like a place I never wanted to kind of cover. I didn't think the coaches were very genuine. I thought it was kind of a little bit Hollywoody, if you will. And then Rhule comes in, and your sit down with him, I thought was very down to earth and genuine. I think there's a lot of components of that I've listened to that thing 3 times. I don't even know how long it is. It's like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
There's just so much good stuff in there that resonates differently with me on different wavelengths, that I'm like, oh man, that's really good. He's so insightful. He's genuine. I think he tells the truth as he sees it, without being, Mr. Sales pitchy guy for Nebraska versus what we're capable of. I think he's very honest, day-to-day honest. And I think that's why when he says things like, this is the team I've been waiting for, I know what Nebraska world is going to do to that quote. I know what they're going to do to that quote.
Don't get me started.
I know where they're going to go with that, but I know what he means.
Okay, so what do you think he meant, Maddie? We haven't even really talked about this.
I just think now he feels like he's around like-minded people more like-minded people. Where day to day, he doesn't have to he even said it in the quote. He's like, if you come to my practices, I'm not rah-rah this, cuss out that, screaming at this. It's going to seem pretty chill from the outside eye because we all know what we're doing. That's what he means by that. I have the dudes around me now who wake up every day and understand the plan. They don't have to it's not necessarily I have to be putting guys on a leash and walking them to this spot and walking them to that spot and things like that. That's what I think he means by that. I know what Nebraska world is going to do to that quote, especially when the games start. And I can see that quote recirculating, after a loss or two for sure. But I did not interpret it as oh yeah, here we go, 11, 12 wins, playoff, here we come. I interpreted it as I think I finally have the dudes around me who think like I do, operate like I do, and it's a lot of fun to come to work every day.
Now, we even carved through it when he said, I like that. And that was referencing guys wanting the griminess of a practice. That's not much to really interpret about wins and losses there.
The Creighton class that just graduated was Flan. Do you know how many times they've almost gotten into fights in practice? I think it would shock people. It would. I think it really would. They were so competitive. It was like the coaches would laugh at them when they would Flan would just end a drill in a tie, and they would start cussing him out because they don't want the tie. I've never been a part of it. Like, but you know why they were special, because the competitive switch doesn't exist. It's always on. The levers broke. Like, they wake up every day in a killer mindset and want to make the most of every single day, whether it's practice or a game. Like, that's when you're coaching those type of players and that type of team. I mean, DB, you do it. Like, I imagine waking up every day is a lot easier and less stressful and more enjoyable, more fulfilling.
Yeah. It's a good point. I like the practicality of it too.
Matt, I do wonder, like, given at least average talent, is that the attribute you would take over everything else?
100%. I've seen it because I've seen it overcome
a lot
more talent. Yeah. I mean, they made an Elite Eight with a team. You know, they were a 10 seed. They had to go to Carver. They had to beat Caitlin. Then they went and beat the best team in the state of Iowa the next week in Greensboro. Like, you know, they made an Elite Eight off of just, you know, off of a day-to-day desire to be better. And it just one day stacked on another day, and then the moment came and they were ready for it. And then, you know, same with just every team that's made a run that I've covered with Creighton. It's like, they don't care what people think about them. They don't care if they don't get the glory. They're just going to show up and fight you. You know what I mean? Like, that's because they have a competitive switch that's like unmatched. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, even Creighton going out to State College this year. Like, I mean, no one thought they were beating Texas. Like, that's Texas. Like, they're 6'4" across the net. Maddie Skinner has a howitzer of an arm. I mean, she just went into League One and tore the league apart. You know what I mean? Like,
and then their start against Penn State, right? It's like, oh man,
yeah. I mean, but
these guys are legit.
You watch them both warm up. You watch them come off the bus, and you're just like, oh man, like, there's pro athletes, you know, over here. And I mean, Creighton just rips them apart. You know what I mean? Like, that Texas match was not competitive. Like, I mean, Jaya Johnson, redshirt freshman, is frustrating Maddie Skinner. Like, Creighton's doing their thing. Like, the Penn State match is a dogfight. Like, but no one thought Creighton going out there was a pathway to the Final Four. But they pretty much made it one, because the day-to-day switch doesn't have to be, you know,
you don't have to find it.
Yeah, you don't know, like, oh, who are we today? They already know that way before the season starts who they are. They're comfortable in their own skin, and then when the lights are on, they just do their thing. That's the way. Those are the most fun teams to cover, for sure, because you don't have to wonder about what you're watching.
Hey, what do you want the Texans to do in the draft?
Get somebody who can give CJ 2.5 seconds to throw. I feel like that's a step in the right direction. I mean, like because you put my mind a little bit at peace when you were talking about A gap pressure and stuff like that.
Yeah.
How frustrated I was with it, and you were like, "Well, it's more complicated than you think." You know, you got really into it. I'm just like, block the dude in front of you. I know there's a lot of stuff in your eyes, but like, can you deal with A to B first? That way the quarterback not, like, I don't want him sitting down as soon as he touches the ball. Like, can we figure that out first, and then let the complexities of blitz packages.
So you would take that, and I get why, because it's O-line, but don't you want like a big time receiver?
I honestly, I think CJ can elevate a receiving core if he has time to make decisions.
Okay.
That's the way I feel right now. So no.
So
that's the most Maddie answer ever.
Listen, I'm traumatized from a David Carr era too. Like, I know what happens when you don't give your quarterback time to process things, how bad it can get. So first and foremost, I want protection for the guy that's going to be making decisions. And then if it turns out that, like, you know, receivers aren't getting open as an issue, or guys aren't making plays downfield as an issue, then you can adjust them from there. But I think point one needs to be give CJ time to at least, you know, survey what's happening in front of him without running for his life.
Maddie, we didn't get to we didn't get to Creighton baseball with you here, so we may have to bring you back again.
Call me
soon.
tomorrow. I'll be up.
Hey, we'll just break one off impromptu, right?
Yeah, I'll text you. If I wake up alive tomorrow, I'll text you. I'll get on. I'll talk to baseball.
We'll just start cold calling you. Be like, hey, how about them Jays?
Avery Howard here with Harrison Phillips. Harrison, this is your 7th Playmakers Camp here in Omaha. As you grow in your NFL career, why has this always remained a priority for you?
You know, it's really special. I don't know what jersey I'm going to wear each season. It's not really up to me. I'm very happy that I've been a part of 2 great organizations. But something that's forever true is this is my high school, and this is where I'm starting a family. I'm building a home here with my wife, who's a Millard West grad. We just had a child who's going to grow up a Nebraskan, and you know, this one means the most.
Standing here in the Millard West gym, what do you think the high school version of you would think, knowing you'll be doing these camps in the future and where you went to high school?
Man, the high school me was pretty cocky. I would say he'd be very proud of himself. I always spoke really big goals and set them really far off. I was kind of laughed at a little bit, being a little freshman saying I'm going to play in the NFL and get full-ride scholarships and stuff. But I worked my ass off to make that happen. So I'd be really proud, and I think the most important thing is bringing others along the way. So being able to be out here to these high school students, a thing that I wish I had. I wish I had someone that I could have asked about what it's like going to college, what's it like to get to the next level. And so when we bring these Nebraska football players out and these high school kids, I want to be a resource to them as well as use my platform for these pups.
At Centros Federal Credit Union, we have the tools and resources to help our members fulfill their financial goals. With a focus on building a stronger community for the next generation of leaders. Centros Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
What makes Banana Ball work so well in terms of the fans, the support, and everything that's gone with it?
I think it's just breaking down the barrier between fan and player. When you go to a Major League Baseball game, even though there might not be a barrier, might just be a net, there's a distinct barrier where like players and fans don't really interact during the game. And we're bringing fans onto the field, into our game. Like every fan that comes to our game is going to be involved somehow. Every single one of them. They're all going to be involved if they want to be. So I guess that's my advice too. When you come to a Bananas game, be open to doing anything. Don't say no to an opportunity. My niece actually, we do a fan warm-up before every game. We have a little girl come on the field and dance, and the whole stadium follows the dance moves. My niece said no because she was nervous. And to this day, every single day I see her, she's like, I want to do the fan warm-up. I want to do the fan warm-up. So like, when you come to a game, just be open to doing whatever.
That's funny. I don't know what to even do with that.
I don't either.
I don't like. Although
the photos look cool. Like
I was saying this to Jessica last night on Sports Nightly. Nothing he does or thinks of surprises me.
Yeah.
There's this really fine line that I think he's good at, I don't know if good's the word, but he uses it to his advantage.
Okay.
He's very in tune with the perception and what's going on and what's being said without really coming across as having rabbit ears, because a lot of what he does fits his personality anyway. He's got a little snark to him. He's creative. He's very confident. And he doesn't really care so much about what what people think. Right? He's secure in
Yeah.
himself. So you combine all that,
Yeah.
and you're able to do and say some things that can maybe be construed as kind of a clapback. Maybe you're just playing the game. Maybe it's you're playing up to it. You just don't really know for sure with him what his motives are, because he's got a wide range of Rolodex of emotions, and he can wear them all.
Yeah.
I mean, he has it in him to be petty. He has it in him to love. He has it in him to be pretty funny. He has it in him to be emotional.
He'll stand on business.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Principle is one thing. Is one thing you don't
That's
have to
the
worry
word I
about.
was looking for. Principled.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, you don't have to worry about that.
So you know what's kind of funny is you bring that up.
When Boyce, a couple of my boys, they first sent me when it hit the internet.
Yeah.
And in my head, I was like, he's capable of anything. Not surprised. And I don't even I'm surprised we didn't get to this yesterday, but I'm not surprised because I typically talk about the things I'm interested in.
Yeah. But Monday was busy. We had a lot going on.
It didn't move my needle either way. So it was a non-starter for me.
Yeah.
And you get these talking heads or whatever nationally and even locally to some degree. Well, he better win, and man, he's doing that. That is so short-sighted and juvenile. Like, there is no ultimatum for having an identity. You do it, and you let the chips fall where they may, unless you want to live your whole life scared, right? Like,
what do people say if I don't make it? What are people going to say if I lose? What are going to people say if?
That's for losers.
Yeah, that's how losers think.
It is. Like, I don't even know. He better win. Why? So is that going to curb what he thinks in the meantime is doing best for is best
the
for
right
the
thing to
do? That's no way to do life.
I mean, even to a much lesser extent with what we do, you know how uninteresting this show would be if either of us constantly thought, well, what if I'm wrong about this?
Oh, I know.
What if I'm wrong about this take?
Yeah.
What if I'm wrong and Dan Hurley's not a terrible person, right? What if I'm wrong and the SEC is not a Ponzi scheme that's actually good at football? What if I'm wrong and Bo Jackson's not overrated, right? It wouldn't be a fun show. And also you would get just reading of box scores basically is what would happen.
Oh, there's some people that try to function like that.
Yeah, I don't try to listen to those people. I don't think it's very entertaining.
Yeah, I just don't get the ultimatums for
you better win.
Vibing with your team in the meantime. I think
honestly, just making the university look cool.
Or in some cases is this a perception? Let's play it up.
Yeah.
Right? Let's take a picture.
Town.
Let's take a picture on tractors.
Bulls running through the
or
weight
let's
room.
have a sweet John Deere. Because here's the thing. They know more than we do.
Mm-hmm.
They know considerably more than we do. They know what recruits think.
I'll say, especially with the vibe of the
They
recruits.
know what parents think and guardians and people traveling. They know what other schools are saying about them. So why do we care?
And also, you know what? Imagine
we have the least amount of knowledge to be trying to, and it's okay to form. You can have your own thoughts or whatever. Like, hey, I like this or I don't like
just
this.
Be open to the idea that you don't have all the facts.
And you don't just get to lay down the ultimatum. The world, it doesn't work like that.
Also, what do you think?
Because if they don't win, they're not gonna change.
Also, everybody knows they have to win. What hot take do you think you're dropping? We're like, well, they better win because they brought a bull in the weight room.
It's easy to say that because you pit it against something that you can tangibly go back and get.
Yeah. You're you're just setting it up to be like, well, I told you when they brought the tractors in that this was blah, blah, blah. And it's like, everybody knows they need to win.
It's
everybody.
It's such low hanging fruit. It's I don't know. I told myself I was going to be positive today.
I am being positive. A couple recruits in. So apparently the process works again.
For some, yeah.
Are we good now? Got 8 in the class again.
We're okay.
We're
okay. We got.
It's a 4-star DB that chose Nebraska over Ohio State, Penn State, Oklahoma, Clemson. Is that good?
That's pretty good.
Is that group of 4 teams pretty good?
That's pretty good. How about
did Ohio State do last year?
How about Odom's last 12 months? Yeah. I was joking, tongue in cheek. Mainly it was just to prove my point because I can be petty. But that he wasn't getting that life without Nebraska in it.
Yeah.
He just wasn't.
I mean, same thing with it. Basically,
And
weirdly,
I was glad to see Broom.
Yeah.
Hey man, what a 12 months for you, man. Started from nothing and now we're here. He's not wrong.
Yeah. Started from the bottom, now we're here.
He's not wrong.
Yeah.
And we just saw the escalation of the stars.
I mean, really not a terribly different situation than CJ Brana.
Oh no. Very similar.
In terms of Nebraska in early. Now, you didn't get the commit early from Odom, but it played out very similarly in terms of the interest from other teams.
Now, and I will say this. I think, and I said this yesterday, and I said this before the weekend started, I think everybody knows that the continual recruitment of Odom is a must.
Sure.
He will have some suitors that will not go away.
Yeah, Ohio State came on really strong.
Yeah.
You know, this is a guy that everybody wanted.
Yeah.
Like everybody good wanted this guy.
Yeah. And I'm with Lance here. He's got my attention early this morning. I feel like I was talking to him the whole way over here, but he's like, it's so weird that people care about Rule in the photo. Like, who cares? Like,
it's not for you.
I mean,
it's really not.
But it's always something.
Yeah.
Well, he did this here. Or those players are here. They're not doing like. Do you really think they don't understand what's at stake?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you want them to live their lives? And we have such strong opinions on what they should do, and it's
Can't
like
live in fear. Can't live in fear.
Why? Oh,
you can't live in fear of what if we don't.
I don't know. There's plenty of sports and other topics to talk about, so I don't really think you need filler. But the hot takes over like appearances in public.
Well, you'd have to watch the hot.
Listen. He was on this show and he was on that show and man, he took this photo and that looked ridiculous with that jersey. And why would he be wearing those? I'm like, oh my God! Like, stop.
We're doing too much.
And here's the other thing. People have to have. You can't just sit on your hands all day when you work as hard as they do. Like, you have to have some fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's a game. And I get the fiscal aspect of it. But you know what? When we critique and we blast and we put people on social media, everybody gets their comeuppance anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's the ride that you're on, man, enjoy it. Enjoy it.
Enjoy the highs. You got to weather the lows.
It's exactly what it is. You take what comes with it, and so it's like it is. And
here's
I don't understand. Like, don't most people want balance in their life?
And here's the thing for me. Like, I don't even care that.
By the way, did you sleep well last night?
The photos, I slept okay.
We good.
That the photos and the appearances and all that stuff. Maybe some of those are for me. Some of those aren't for me. I get that. Here's the thing that I'll ride with Coach Rule all the time, because he's been very, very consistent about this among a lot of things. Like, he's very consistent in general. But one of the things that he's always been very consistent on since the day he got here was advocating for the university and the state of Nebraska. That's what the appearances are. That's what the photo ops are. Like, he is letting you know. Because how often have you heard? I know people think this is a joke. How often have you heard people that are like, oh, we didn't know Nebraska had all this? Not just facilities. I mean, like, the city. We didn't know they had actual cities. We didn't know that Lincoln and Omaha were what they were. We didn't know that you've got a metro population of 1 million 40 minutes down the road from the university, and that you've got a few 100,000 in Lincoln itself. People don't know that. Did you see the video we made at College World Series with the players asking them what the population of Omaha was?
It was ridiculous.
Almost all of them said under 100,000.
So, the funny thing about that is, like, people were like, was I on 3? I was on one of the scribes, and it was like, ooh, man, look at the diss on Omaha, because the joke is in-state versus out-of-state, not in-state versus out-of-state, in metro versus outstate, and it's kind of a running joke. There's a lot of sarcasm. I don't think crime town, swim town, this whole back and forth with Omaha and the rest of the deal. And the thing about it was, over those videos is, big city slickers, or they think they're this booming metropolitan. It's like people just like go out of their way to poke fun, but clearly it comes from somewhere, right? Right. It used to drive players crazy when they would do those cool opens when there's only a handful of national games every week, and inevitably you'd get the tractor
Shot of the cornfield, or the
shot of
tractor
the cornfield
going,
and plowing, and we would have so many guys that weren't from here that would be like, man, it's not even really like this. And the coaching staff and TO would say, hey, it's part of the fabric. Like you just you got to ride with it. This is part of sustaining the revenue and the state's product. And so there was always this well talked about balance, but it was intentional. Like this has been going on for forever.
Yeah.
And fortunately, people that recruit against Nebraska, especially when you get to the Browards, the Dates, the Los Angeles, the DFW area, people use Lincoln against Nebraska all the time. And I think Nebraska's been super calculated in terms of how they tried to combat that with diversity. I talk about, you think I'm playing when I talk about food choices and the ability to eat places and how your food vendors cater to your student athletes. They recruit across the country. They recruit internationally. Their flexibility within the programs has to be very, very apparent, right? You have to appeal to people from Sweden to Lincoln to Los Angeles,
Miami
to Liberty City.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So not everything is going to be for everybody, but they have made a concerted effort. Hey, you want country today? Let's do a country theme. Why do you think it's so important for guys like Elijah Judy to get on a mechanical bull and learn to rope? Because if you're going to hang out with Carter Nelson, who's on the offensive side of the ball, and Carter Nelson wants to be able to talk to you about coming back to Ainsworth, you don't want it to be some foreign concept, right? So
yeah.
I'm not saying they're going all old school with Herman Boone, and it's like, sit by another brother, but it is
Julius and Gary.
It's intentional.
Yeah.
Why do they cross recruit? Why do you share coaches? Why do you have to be in other position rooms? Why do you hang out with other guys, right? I mean, just look at who people live with.
Yeah.
It is very, very, very diverse, and it's intentional. I mean, it was kind of Trev's vision, and Dannon is such a always thinking. He's just a thinker, right? And you put it with Coach Rule and Dr. Elza and that staff, and Coach Cook was really, really cool. Manning being such a lifelong learner, his evolution to cater to multiple kinds of student athletes over the tenure of his career has been nothing short of fantastic.
You think like 8 years ago he would have brought in an AJ Ferrari?
No.
Right? That's kind of what you're talking about, right?
It's 100% what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And there are times, like, we'll talk, like, sometimes I'm like, and he'll say yes. I don't know. We should. Sometimes I just want to call him.
Yeah.
Just be like, hey, like, this is out there. I don't want to have rabbiters, but let's talk about this. Let's talk about why this is important.
Yeah.
Or Coach Rule or even like Amy Wood, like, it's all over the place. And coaches that you do have to stand on some sort of business, right? You can't be all willy-nilly like these leaves blowing in the wind. But the evolving with what is happening culturally without compromising who you are as the leader, that's the game you have to play, because what are kids trained to see now is authenticity. And if they're not seeing it and they go someplace else, those aren't the people you have to worry about playing against. You don't have to worry about playing with or against them for very long, because it's not going to last.
Yeah, because
they'll be looking for the next new
they can't endure
shiny toy someplace else.
Yeah. No, right. I do think it goes back to that thing we talked about being principled in philosophy.
And if that makes guys and gals upset that I said that means I'm probably talking to you.
Like, there's a difference between being principled in philosophy versus being principled in details, right? Yeah. Like, that's how you avoid being wishy-washy but still being adaptable, right? And you brought up Dannon, and I hesitate to say this because of kind of how hard I went on Trev, But like two things can be true at once. Obviously, Trev did some good things while he was here. I'm not going to pretend like that didn't happen, right? I also think it may have been a little bit of a blessing in disguise for Dannon to come in when he did. Like, I think he's a really, really good fit for this time in Nebraska athletics. And I think his particular personality and skill set are uniquely suited to here.
Yeah.
And so, and again, I try not to.
I mean, we're just trying to beat the average stay for an AD, right? What is it, 2.7, 3.7 years? It's under 4.
It's rough.
It's under 4.
It's rough.
So, I mean,
but he seems like a guy that can, he kind of gives the aw shucksy, and so it's a little hard at first blush to kind of take him as seriously as you should. But that guy is obviously really bright, and I think the thing that I like about him the most, which is funny because I don't have this in me, is it doesn't seem like he needs the credit.
He couldn't care less.
Like, he'll get things done, he'll do what needs to be done, and doesn't need the credit.
And he makes some tough decisions.
Yeah.
But I think he's got a good team. The one thing I like is kind of how I try to balance people that I bounce ideas off of, right? I kind of want a new age thinker. Sometimes I kind of want a person that has a good lay of the land. For
you like some diversity of thought.
I do. Like, I can't go to. It's a good example. Like, I can't go to Kugler for all things media. I'd love to.
Yeah. But he's got some different experiences that probably don't apply to what you're doing.
He's at the top of his profession. He's extremely experienced. Some of the things that we're dealing with now, like, he is either didn't have to do or he's past.
Like, past the point of having to deal with them. Yeah.
Right? So I just use him as an example in the media business because of all this.
Because you guys are close.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's given you a lot of advice in the past.
100%.
Yeah. But it's not a thing where he's not the only voice you can hear. Because
like, I have to bounce that off. Like, let's say, Jeff Colhane is not a great example because he's a little in the same boat. But, I got to pit two. Okay, I'll give you one. Two totally different personalities. Kugler, Ben McLaughlin.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. And two very different jobs.
Vastly different.
Same industry.
Personality types.
Yeah.
Same industry.
Different jobs.
Another guy. Like, sometimes it'll be like a guy like Larry Putney.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Who I like for different reasons because, Larry's just going to tell me. We'll worry about the feelings later.
Yeah.
But I know he means well.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, I think balance. And then it's up to the person that's, like, collecting the information.
Yeah, the receiver of the information.
Then they can do with it what they will.
Especially if you search out certain things.
What I can't stand is the little cuddle buddy, huddle up group think tank, and then, boom, this is how we're rolling. Like, that's just not something that I'm really gonna be a part of. And I think with this, it's with Coach Rule or the image or where Dylan is or isn't or what's Emmett doing or the branding. I think at the end of the day with players and kind of what's out there, you see the reports from Ohio State and NIL and kind of what they're doing with Nike and the branding, and like, schools are committing money to research with marketing and branding companies about what young athletes want. You think coaches want to do that?
Probably not.
No, they don't.
Most coaches just want to coach ball.
But you better handicap yourself with the facts, though. Hey, why is this guy so fascinated with Instagram?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it's this, and this. Okay. Maybe I can help them out with IG, but you better. When I need you from this time to this time to this time and this time, and it's not
away.
You better deliver.
Yeah.
Right? When we put that stuff out on the iPad and you have a couple hours to turn it back in and get it done, it better be with some sort of proficiency.
Yeah.
Otherwise, those other things go away. Yeah. Coach Rule.
You can have all the liberties you want as long as you get the other stuff done.
I think I can say this. He poked his head in total impromptu in one of the interviews. And he was talking about somehow he got on wanting to do things for student athletes because the media company, Playfly, Andy was like, hey, you know what? We've got to do a really good job of helping our clients and the totality of what you're after. How can we help you? How can we help you?
Yeah.
And the cliffs of that conversation is, Coach Rule was talking about marketing and branding and collecting NIL and making sure that we support initiatives that way. But he said it's bigger than that now with the media component. And they need to figure out how to capitalize on that like some other schools like Ohio State is doing. Like he's always thinking.
Yeah.
He's always looking to see, okay, where are our competitors? How does it fit with what we do? And at the topical level, it's why are you worried about what Ohio State's doing? Remember, I've said this from day one. Their philosophy and how they carry themselves, regardless of what the record says, is as a big time program. They don't want to have to go back and play catch. If they all of a sudden accidentally start winning, you don't want to have to.
That's like you see those teams that kind of.
You don't want to have to ramp up and say, oh, shoot, what's next? What's next? You want to operate at a certain way. Make sure you have limited the variables. You put yourself in good position. Then you go out and play ball and see what happens in the win-loss column. You don't want to do it the other way.
No. You want to put yourself in a position to be sustainable.
You want to be prepared.
Yeah.
It fits with the recruiting philosophy. It fits with what they're trying to do with revenue. It fits with what they're trying to do with branding. He doesn't dislike talking, but he's not talking to McElroy or Josh Pate or
Jim
Sipple or
Rome.
Rome or McAfee because he doesn't have anything else better to do. It's intentional.
Yeah.
It is extremely intentional.
He's the face of the program.
So it's
as much as Dylan is, maybe more.
And he embraces it. So, but at the end of the day,
Do you think Dylan would be any of these places if Coach Rule wasn't okay with it?
and I think they talk about it a fair amount.
Yeah.
And sometimes they go together.
I'll say, which, by the way, you want to, I think I can say this, dirty little secret. You know the interview that we put out of Dylan Raiola at the College World Series?
Yeah.
Coach Rule was standing 10 feet from him.
Right.
It's not like he doesn't know where he is.
Yeah, he's well aware.
They were there together.
He's well aware.
I don't know if they drove together, but they were there. They were there together. This is not this isn't a thing where
So when I
Ryle was just running around.
when I see those pictures and stuff,
Yeah.
I didn't impromptu, and
No.
I didn't just think of it. Now, what we think that has to do with winning and losing, that's up to the individual.
But it doesn't matter because
I just know he ain't worried about that part. He's not talking to
he
you.
thinks that it's
He's
important. To
that's
win
not
and
for
losing.
you.
Yeah.
Right.
And honestly,
And how many times do you want to say that in life?
you know the thing that I want to
Do
be
you know
able
how
to
much better off we would be?
Yeah.
If we knew what wasn't for us,
Yeah. It's like, oh, that's not for me. I can move on.
right? And just move on.
Just pay it no mind. I'm
It's
good.
not for me.
I'm moving on. You know what I think would be really useful if we could say in life all the time? That I think is something that Coach Rule and his staff will be able to say is if it doesn't go the way we want to, it's not because we missed anything.
Yeah.
Right? Most of the time,
The leaving no stone unturned thing, I think, is pretty big.
and it matters. Right? What are we talking about? Control what you can control. Do everything you can to prepare yourself to be successful. And how many times over the last, I don't know, let's go all the way back to Callahan.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any coach, Callahan, Bo, Riley, Frost, even Solich, you think you could sit here and say, oh, without a shadow of a doubt, it didn't work out here because they didn't miss anything, right? You could point to something on each one of those guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
No matter how much we like them or don't,
Yes.
you could point to something for each one. And for some people, you can point to multiple things. For some people, it's like, if they had gotten this one thing right, we feel pretty good about it.
Yeah.
Fewer things went wrong for Solich than did for Frost, obviously.
And so far, the difference with HCMR is he's not leaving anything to chance.
Yeah.
So and everybody's different, right? I think of like the Bill Hipshers of the world, or Noddle. I was talking to Noddle last night. Got a new development plan going up. Shout out to him. Little medical facility going up out in Gretna. And he gives me this kind of blind squirrel finding a nut reference, and we're talking, and it's kind of one of his philosophies about pushing the envelope is you never know until you do your due diligence. So it sounds really easy, but what people sometimes will talk themselves into is I'm afraid, or it's too big of this, or I can't really make sense of it in the moment, so I'll table it. And some people just feel like it's a waste of time to worry about things that aren't there yet. They just go with what they see. So everybody's kind of wired differently, but it's like it's like being able to look at, and I admire these people because I'm not really like that, except when it comes to young people. Like young people, I'm always, okay, what's next? How do I envision? Oh, you can try. Don't limit yourself. I'm not so much like that with almost anything else. Like I can't look at a room and see a wall being removed or a false wall put up, or shelving, or moving a laundry room from downstairs to upstairs. Like I can't see those things, so I don't concern myself with it. It's just like, this is kind of how it is. This is the functionality of it. And so I'm always fascinated by people that can look at the same thing that I'm looking at
and see something different.
Yeah. Like because I admire the vision, right? How does that fit with the sports landscape? Well, I gave you 5 skill guys, including Raiola. I could give you any 5. What intrigues me by that? Well, maybe this guy's not going to be a Z. Maybe he's not going to play X. Maybe he's going to come out of the backfield. Maybe he's going to be an inline tight end. Maybe he's going to be in an H-back,
with Mosey.
Right? Yeah, with Mosey, right? Put him in the backfield. Yeah. I'd put him in the backfield, right?
Bring up with Harburg and Lindemeyer, like the tight end room in general a lot.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with those guys?
Let EJ be the final number 4 out of motion, and he's going to get your 4th best defender.
Why? That's why you keep asking me,
hey,
if you roll these guys out there, what alignment are they going to be in?
What are we going to do? I like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Making the puzzle piece fits. And sometimes you see it with houses. These people that can turn and burn and flip homes, and I'm like, how'd you see that based on
where we started?
That's one of the things that I like about Coach Rule, because he's picked everybody's brain. Past coaches, current coaches, business people, fiscal analysts, former general managers, current general managers, CEOs of shoe companies, restaurants, like people that own, like supply and demand in food chain, and the difference between volume and margin.
Yeah.
Volume and margin. If you're operating in abundance in bulk, it's about volume. Volume. I have 55 tables. How many people can I run through?
Yeah.
Volume. If I'm a smaller restaurant and this is what I spend, my plates may be a little more expensive. What is my margin?
Yeah.
It's the exact way he looks at NIL, spending, revenue sharing. Little things like that you just don't think typically people like him do. But a guy that's very good fiscally and really good with his money. I almost said tight, but I'm not in his pocketbooks like that. I just know he's not running out to buy anything unnecessarily.
Sure.
He's just not. Right? You want leadership like that.
Yeah.
You just do. So if he's spending money wisely and they're bringing in good people, I couldn't care less what kind of photo ops he does.
Yeah.
I felt like he wasn't the first one. My man had I wanted to kind of help wash his face, but he had these little eye boogers and this little wrinkled sleep shirt from an early morning meeting with a recruit, and I'm just like, you didn't have to come straight from the office. You could have just run home or go down to the locker room. Or my man wanted to be early, but it's just like, I'm cool with that. Like, I know you'll lay it on the line.
Yeah.
So I don't. Those kinds of things don't. If you weren't working, it would be different.
Yeah.
It would be different. But I don't know, man. I just get the sense he knows what he's doing, and clearly, you're getting these guys on campus without them saying yes. And I get it, man. I hear you, but they got to start saying yes. Is he supposed to stop trying? Nah. Like, I don't understand that.
Again, it's
we
what's the
need them
alternative?
to say yes. No bleep. But in the meantime,
Hey, I don't know if you know this. We got to start winning games.
he has to keep trying.
Yeah. What's the alternative?
Like the doom and gloom and the negative, like, well, they're not even saying yes. It's like, hey, man, you still have to do the work.
Yeah.
You still have to do the work.
You have to get them to the point where they have to
You know how
make a
many
decision.
successful businesses put in bids that not everybody says yes?
All of them. All of them.
You still got to go through the process, man.
Nobody bats 1,000 on
because
those.
you have to be ready
Yeah.
for the yes.
Yeah.
You have to be ready for the yes, just like you have to be ready for the wins. Do you think he all of a sudden wants to tell, 73% of his roster that, hey, didn't go the way we wanted to, man. We're going to revamp this culture that I talked about. Got to hit the portal. You think he wants to do that?
No.
No. So you're gonna give yourself every opportunity to make sure that the development plan is in place. You've constructed the roster a certain way. It is intentional, and you're putting a premium on needing to win football games. It's a scary proposition for people that are ill prepared. If you're prepared and you're a competitor, you understand it's just part of the deal.
Yeah.
You know you have to win.
Yeah. That's the given.
It's not some, ooh, I'm fearful of it. You embrace needing to win.
Because they want to win more as much as you do.
And don't think they want to be out there with their thumb in their butt doing it for no reason, man.
Just
I mean, nobody
trying to
wants to
figure it
get
out on
out
the
of the
fly.
rack at 5:30 and go hang and bang just to, not try to go win.
Give me that cheddar, we getting Rico. Big money and rolls like burritos. Give me that hot sauce, no pico. Give me that.
Avery Howard here with Harrison Phillips. Harrison, this is your 7th Playmakers Camp here in Omaha. As you grow in your NFL career, why has this always remained a priority for you?
You know, it's really special. I don't know what jersey I'm going to wear each season. It's not really up to me. I'm very happy that I've been a part of 2 great organizations. But something that's forever true is this is my high school, and this is where I'm starting a family. I'm building a home here with my wife, who's a Millard West grad. We just had a child who's going to grow up a Nebraskan. And, this one means the most.
Standing here in the Millard West gym, what do you think the high school version of you would think, knowing you'll be doing these camps in the future and where you went to high school?
Man, the high school me was pretty cocky. I would say he'd be very proud of himself. I always spoke really big goals and set them really far off. I was kind of laughed at a little bit, being a little freshman saying I'm going to play in the NFL and get full ride scholarships and stuff. But I worked my ass off to make that happen. So I'd be really proud. And I think the most important thing is bringing others along the way. So being able to be out here to these high school students, a thing that I wish I had. I wish I had someone that I could have asked about what it's like going to college, what's it like to get to the next level. And so when we bring these Nebraska football players out and these high school kids, I want to be a resource to them as well as use my platform for these pups.
At Centros Federal Credit Union, we have the tools and resources to help our members fulfill their financial goals. With a focus on building a stronger community for the next generation of leaders. Centros Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
What makes Banana Ball work so well in terms of the fans, the support, and everything that's gone with it?
I think it's just breaking down the barrier between fan and player. When you go to a Major League Baseball game, even though there might not be a barrier, it might just be a net, there's a distinct barrier where like players and fans don't really interact during the game. And we're bringing fans onto the field, into our game. Like every fan that comes to our game is going to be involved somehow. Every single one of them. They're all going to be involved if they want to be. So I guess that's my advice too. When you come to a Bananas game, be open to doing anything. Don't say no to an opportunity. My niece actually, we do a fan warm-up before every game. We have a little girl come on the field and dance, and the whole stadium follows the dance moves. My niece said no because she was nervous. And to this day, every single day I see her, she's like, I want to do the fan warm-up. I want to do the fan warm-up. So like, when you come to a game, just be open to doing whatever.
One of the reasons too is, I think, from a credibility standpoint. I mean, Tim's a guy that's not afraid to say what he thinks, not what everybody else thinks. And sometimes he's caught in a ton of pushback. Sometimes publicly from people giving it back to him. And so I like the fact that he does his homework, doesn't just go along to get along, and over time it will play well to credibility. And so for him to outwardly talk about Nebraska's culture and be vibing with the philosophy about not just the flavor of the day or who's the hot recruit or I mean, I was losing my mind over the Marty Brown thing.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I was sitting here watching it happen.
I'm like, you guys have I don't know, you guys, this isn't right. Like, you're not getting it right. And I go back to Sanders and, Spindler. And you want Nebraska. Again, I don't know if they're going to win.
Yeah.
But this is typically how, if you're investing in a company, i.e. the fans and tickets and support and all that, you want them showing the kind of responsibility and fiscal restraint that they're doing, because it has to fit. And I used it locally in a different way. I said, hey, you got to show you want to be there. If you show you want to be there, and it may mean camping, it may be whatever.
Coming to campus a few times.
They just got to weed it out. They have to know that you can handle maybe not playing year one or reading about yourself,
Yeah, what
or
comes with this place.
going to the grocery store. Like, they have to know that.
Mhm.
It's not that they don't. I mean, they're putting you through the same kind
It's
of
a vetting process.
It just is.
It's
And
kind of funny too because
the whole no money. I'm just like,
Oh,
if,
no,
if somebody else says,
that's the dumbest thing.
And this isn't hindsight. I mean, I was pretty fired up from the.
I mean, how many times have I told you Nebraska has all the money they need?
Yeah, I said it
And
about
you know it better
basketball.
than I do.
If they want to go get a hooper,
They could.
they could go get a hooper.
Here's the
If
thing
they
that
wanted to go get a football guy,
yeah,
they could go get a football guy.
it kind of reminds me when you talk about like, hey, I don't know if they're going to win, but this is a company you want to invest in. It's when I like looking at baseball reference and pitchers numbers and things like that, especially young guys. And I'm trying to, I see a trade go through, whether it's the Devers trade or whoever else. See a trade go through, and I'm like, oh, I'm curious what these prospects looks like, especially in minor league ball, because some of the ERAs and stuff are so goofy in minor leagues that it's hard to tell, like, oh, is this guy good or not? So I start looking at the peripheries, right? I start looking at like strikeouts per 9. I start looking at like batting average, balls in play. I start looking at like walk to strikeout ratios. I start looking at all the other peripheral numbers to say, okay, I don't know if that's ever going to translate to a sub-3 ERA or 18 wins in a season or whatever, but I'm going to bet on all these things, right? I'm going to bet on the fact that, okay, if you're striking out 12 per 9, I got a pretty good shot. If you're not walking, if you got like a 2-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio, I'll take my chances there. If you consistently are holding guys to like a sub 220 batting average, I'll take my chances on that one. Like, I don't know if that's ever going to translate to you being the pitcher I want you to be, but those are the things I'm going to bet on. That's what you're talking about with Nebraska right now. Like, I'm going to bet on the way they go through this. I'm going to bet on the way they've built this culture. And part of that culture, again, you talked about with Kirby Smart, part of that culture is having guys around for multiple years. And if you can't get a guy to come here and be here and say, hey, I want to be here, the chances of him, and again, because a lot of these guys are not very close to home when they're at Nebraska, right?
Yeah, you need to know
if they're cool with being here.
Yeah.
And that they want to be here, right? So, like, there's a huge, huge thing. And part of the reason I asked Tim some leading questions there, as you so nicely pointed out for me.
But you know what, though? I say that facetiously. But one of the things, the reason I think people like Tim on this show is because
he won't let me back him in a corner.
No.
Especially if it disagrees
And he's going to speak his thoughts.
Yeah.
And I can ask him hard questions. And we can talk hard philosophical topics. Like
part of the reason I was leading him down that path, though, is because
he's not hitting softballs.
I fundamentally believe that there is never a singular recruit that is worth compromising what you're about for. Ever. And I think that's what bothers me about the CJ Brana thing, is where it seems like people are like, oh, well, you should have just outbid him. You should have just done whatever the X factor is, right? Whatever the thing is that people think, and it seems to be NIL, whatever the thing is that people think would have gotten over the top. We're like, well, just do that. It's like, okay, if the X factor is a thing that is outside of how you typically do business, you're compromising yourself for one guy.
Yeah.
And if you compromise yourself for one guy, that culture is gone.
I remember, and certainly not talking about the player or the situation, but it had gotten to the point, and I was talking to Coach Rule, and he clearly was frustrated. And he's like, DB, he's like, what am I even doing right now? Like, this goes against everything that I fundamentally believe. I'm out.
Yeah.
That's exactly what he said. This goes against everything that I fundamentally believe. We're out.
You don't get a guy that's as principled as Matt Rhule and then in recruiting be like, oh, just outspend him.
No, he just doesn't want to have to go back and get it.
Yeah.
So it's just easier.
Tim talking about with the SEC schools and being like, hey, in the fall, the money's going to start to look pretty funny, and some of these guys are going to circle back. Yeah.
So
it goes, and I thought exactly the same thing that you keep bringing up. It depends on how willing you are to not do what you said when you're talking to a recruit.
And it's funny, too, and I had no idea. I'd love to say it because I would look actually smart as opposed to just opinionated. But when everybody was panicking over NIL and paying, I said, the model you guys are the most upset with isn't sustainable, even for rich people. It's just not. Rich people aren't rich by investing in bad things. And over time, you need a few of these to go south.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be discouraged. The market will what?
Correct itself.
It will correct itself.
Yeah.
I said that from the jump. The model is not sustainable.
And what are you going to see
when you look at the things that we're bothered by? It will regulate.
And what do you think you're going to see in a few months here when, I guess in 11 days here, when you can start doing the revenue share?
That's July 1, right?
Yeah, and the NIL rules change. And that's why you have people in the
Although the NIL rules won't be as hardline because there's still so much gray, right?
Yeah, but
you know what you think the parameters are, but there's a lot of subjective words.
Well, there's a lot of subjective words, and there's a lot of I think there's a lot of details to be worked out with the kind of oversight committee still. But that's why you've got SEC coaches talking about you're going to get 20% of what you had last year. You're going to get whatever you had last year because they already are seeing that legally the model has not been sustainable. And so they've changed the rules on them. And yes, NIL is still going to exist. Do those people have the infrastructure and the wherewithal to be able to navigate that, to still get those guys all their money? That's why TV's talking about the money's going to get real funny in the fall. It does anyway. It's even more so this year. When signing day comes around, the money's going to get real funny for these teams that haven't figured out how to get NIL
if you're
done.
if you're at the mercy of asking price for the sake of talent, you're introduced. You might as well be playing pie gal or dice.
Yeah, it's random.
It's no coincidence that one of the first things of the 600 pages that Coach Rule had yet to read of the 700-page tax code, the joke that he made, what's the very first thing that he came out against?
Which one?
Pay periods.
Oh, yeah.
For the portal.
Yeah.
Of all the things that he could have talked about that he had gleaned information about, the number one thing that he spoke out about
was when guys from the transfer portal get paid.
And not wanting double payments.
Yeah.
He lets you know.
He doesn't want people to double dip.
He lets you know right then and there how he feels about money. Whether he has it or he doesn't, you would never know. I'm telling you, even through the hiring and vetting process, you're going to get what you earn. There have been some guys that have gotten raises, and ask them, it's come at a cost. You know what the cost is? Being evaluated much more frequently on the job.
Yeah.
Do you want what comes with that? Not just giving you money.
Yeah.
Not just elevating you in a position. I know that firsthand. Like, it ain't happening. And he's certainly not going to get into a deal with high school guys or college guys that are going to command this. And like, hey, wait a minute. I'm not going to be at your, like, no. I've been miserable with money, as Coach Rule would tell you. I have a lot of money. I have means, and I'm still capable of being miserable. So you best believe I understand that it's not going to be some mythical game changer. I can't stress that enough, which is why I bristle up the way that I do. It's also, and I hate to say it, but it's one of the reasons that I brought up 2 months ago about Sark, right? There's one day that you can discuss revenue. Outside of that, it's a wrap. I don't have any problems with Texas's culture.
I'll say, which I can kind of respect. I can respect that.
Yeah, hey, you got one day, man.
Yeah.
You got one day. This is when we do this. After this, it's not coming up again. Are we clear?
Yeah. It's like an open enrollment period when you're getting insurance. Be like, hey, this is when you have the opportunity to do this. The rest of the year,
I mean, the last 2 years, it's pain. It's like, I don't want to gravitate towards anything Texas is doing. I don't. And I know they got a ton of money.
I'm the one that,
but
a lot of people have a ton of money that aren't doing with it what Texas is.
But do you know what I think part of it is?
What's that?
And this is way philosophical. And I believe it's by God. It's the two aforementioned guys have had some real hardships.
Sure.
In their life in terms of hitting bottom.
Yeah.
And when you hit bottom, you become a lot more appreciative of the day-to-days and not the frill because they hit bottom while they were having a lot of the frill. So they become much more substance-oriented to insulate themselves.
These guys have, yes.
The practicality of it's just,
Because, yeah, it's funny you kind of bring that up because I agree with you that hitting the bottom while you've got all the frills can lead to some real
and sometimes it's personal
growth and appreciation.
but sometimes it's not on the job.
Yeah. No, for sure. Like Sark's especially, like he went through some pretty public personal problems.
Kiffin's another one.
Kiffin is another great example. You know who's a guy who's an example who I don't think learned from it?
Ask Saban what he learned being
Fired from Miami.
Yeah, and Belichick from Cleveland.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Especially those guys who there's a point at their lives where they probably think they can do no wrong.
And the good ones typically learn from it. You know what I think one of, because he made, I follow the list, the top 5 list guy, overrated, underrated. And Brian Kelly was number 5 on his overrated coach list. And he's a 2-time coach of the year, right? And I said, no, why is Brian Kelly on it? And what's going on with Brian? He has yet to kind of show any lifelong learning from mistakes made.
Like resolve.
Just keeps doubling down, which is maybe why he's not evolving.
Yeah.
Right? Some other guys that have kind of gone through that, it's like, okay, like what happened to me and why?
Yeah. Some people aren't willing to self-evaluate, though.
Well, believe me, you want to know firsthand? It sucks.
Yeah.
It's zero fun.
There's a guy that actually his program got brought up. I can't remember if it was you or Tim that brought him up. That I actually think is a version of a guy that has been through it but has not self-evaluated, and that's Hugh Freeze at Auburn. It doesn't seem like Hugh Freeze has learned anything.
Yeah, that might be an example and I don't know enough about how he's acting.
I don't either, but when I hear like, hey, oh yeah, it was Tim talking about, we were down at Auburn, that you can tell the guys who are getting paid versus not getting paid. Like,
yeah, that's
a
guy that hasn't changed his behavior after hitting bottom.
Right, because he was able to get back to where he wanted to go without having to self-evaluate. That's how it seems, right? That would be my concern with, not really concerned because I don't care if it works out at Auburn for Hugh Freeze, but that would be my concern with guys like that is you're right. You have the opportunity to learn and self-evaluate and grow. Not everybody chooses to.
Yeah.
Like it's still a choice. It's not an automatic thing. Because I do think Matt Rhule is probably a different person before Carolina and after, right? Like that's fair, I think.
Oh, what did I tell you yesterday in the parking lot? You got some growing up to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
everybody's like, there's always more growing up to do.
And I'm 51.
There's always more growing up to do. Let's take a quick break here.
Sometimes I am. See, that's why I appreciate the Sams and the Tims, and because I mean sometimes like the way that we talk and kind of the delivery is not just 42 counter, or jump 83 Y stick or pin downs or flare screens or pitch outs, right? Power plays in hockey. Some of it is a lot of it is philosophical, and it has some depth because in this market and in this state, we've seen it a multitude of ways. The only thing that we collectively come back to a fan base is not necessarily an error in terms of wins, because it's proven that that's not always enough. We want things to be done a certain way.
100%.
And when those things aren't done a certain way, philosophically, with how it lines up across the state, at some point, it's going to bug you. So I'm always trying to center around like what's below the topical stuff. I mean, and I get it. Sometimes it's heavy and it's not fun, but it does handicap you with the facts, as my former great boss used to say.
And being completely honest about it.
Tim, they let us take them there.
It's the thing.
We can ask Sam hard questions.
Yeah, it's the thing about sports that I care about the most.
How it relates to life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Philosophical stuff, how it relates to life, because otherwise it doesn't really matter.
I mean,
I love sports. I love the actual games.
How do you grow? Like, the self-awareness thing is huge. Nebraska has to know exactly who they are. You think they haven't collected data on what's worked and what hasn't worked?
Yeah.
Well, what I tell you, Rule said where he felt like he was behind during the bowl game from his staffing standpoint, where he felt like I was kind of scrambling. He was having to do December was wearing them out.
Oh yeah,
because of how the infrastructure
how
was
all
set up.
everything overlapped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like,
Signing
I
day,
need
transfer portal,
them
bowl
over
prep.
here to do
Yeah.
this, but they're forced to do this, and they're over here doing this, and I need them to do this. And he goes, public enemy number one when January starts. We need realignment with what he wanted to have happen in the department.
Who does what?
What is the first thing that he attacked?
Getting
realignment,
getting Pat
within the
Stewart in
department.
here and getting
You know, I can have Troy do this, or I can have Keith do this, or
Move
I can have Avery do this. I can,
moved.
you know, like he's just constantly trying to position himself to work from ahead. And when you have an athletic director who very much functions the same way, and I got to see it firsthand, listening to some of the stuff that was asked in interviews of play-by-play guys. It's so forward thinking, it's crazy. Which is why anytime I get a chance to say at some point, and maybe they do have to win, but I am a big fan of getting your flowers while you're still alive too, especially as men. I think we need to be a little more appreciative without the necessary results in the win column of how Nebraska has navigated and functioned in a very volatile and unsure time as kind of steadying their growth. Like they're actually in a better position on June 20th than they were on January 20th. And I think they're dealing with far more variables.
Yeah.
Because do you know what makes far more variables? It's a kind of rule. They're operating under kind of rules.
Yeah.
A lot of people can play a lot of games if you know the rules that are being played. The worst game to play is when you don't really know the rules.
Yeah.
And they're functioning at a high level within the game, and they don't really know the rules.
Yeah.
Because they got 10 toes down in terms of how they're going to operate fiscally. And the kind of people that they want to bring in, you have to want them too.
And I've talked about this before. They have a philosophical conviction. They don't have detailed convictions, right? So the details can change and their philosophical beliefs don't.
Yeah.
Right. So if that's your constant,
it's no different than relationships.
Yeah. If that's your constant, you can weather anything.
Yeah. If you're dealing with a boss, or you're parenting, or if you have somebody that deals in minutia, it's just a red flag.
It's tough. It's a tough way to operate because the
is.
details always change. The details always change. You have to have philosophical alignment, and everybody knows that I've got my man crush on Rule or whatever. Part of it is what you said. I love the way he operates. Right? Yes, I want the wins to come, and he needs the wins to come.
Yeah, Lane, I do. Rule is 3-10 in one score games, 1-8 in November, and hasn't beaten a ranked team at Baylor. At Baylor or Nebraska as a Power 4, Power 5 coach. We need to appreciate the process. Yeah, I do. And Baylor's vastly different from Nebraska. Navigating the NIL era and still getting good players in the program. Yeah, I absolutely do. I do. And no one, and it's not mutually exclusive, Lane. I still want them to win. I'm not just happy to be there.
Give me that cheddar, weekend Rico. Big money rolls like burritos. Give me that hot sauce, no pico. Give me that.
Avery Howard here with Harrison Phillips. Harrison, this is your 7th Playmakers Camp here in Omaha. As you grow in your NFL career, why has this always remained a priority for you?
You know, it's really special. I don't know what jersey I'm going to wear each season. It's not really up to me. I'm very happy that I've been a part of two great organizations. But something that's forever true is this is my high school, and this is where I'm starting a family. I'm building a home here with my wife, who's a Millard West grad. We just had a child who's going to grow up a Nebraskan, and this one means the most.
Standing here in the Millard West gym, what do you think the high school version of you would think, knowing you'll be doing these camps in the future and where you went to high school?
Man, the high school me was pretty cocky. I would say he'd be very proud of himself. I always spoke really big goals and set them really far off. I was kind of laughed at a little bit, being a little freshman saying I'm going to play in the NFL and get full ride scholarships and stuff. But I worked my ass off to make that happen. So I'd be really proud, and I think the most important thing is bringing others along the way. So being able to be out here to these high school students, a thing that I wish I had someone that I could have asked about what it's like going to college, what's it like to get to the next level. And so when we bring these Nebraska football players out and these high school kids, I want to be a resource to them as well as use my platform for these pups.
At Centris Federal Credit Union, we have the tools and resources to help our members fulfill their financial goals. With a focus on building a stronger community for the next generation of leaders. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
What makes Banana Ball work so well in terms of the fans, the support, and everything that's gone with it?
I think it's just breaking down the barrier between fan and player. When you go to a Major League Baseball game, even though there might not be a barrier, it might just be a net, there's a distinct barrier where like players and fans don't really interact during the game. And we're bringing fans onto the field, into our game. Like every fan that comes to our game is going to be involved somehow. Every single one of them. They're all going to be involved if they want to be. So I guess that's my advice too. When you come to a Bananas game, be open to doing anything. Don't say no to an opportunity. My niece actually, we do a fan warm-up before every game. We have a little girl come on the field and dance, and the whole stadium follows the dance moves. My niece said no because she was nervous. And to this day, every single day I see her, she's like, I want to do the fan warm-up. I want to do the fan warm-up. So like, when you come to a game, just be open to doing whatever.
Kyle's really good.
How about my man B Mac though?
Yeah.
Just the I get it. It's like, oh man, you're gonna say that about because it's the team you work with, but you know me, like I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not going
You won't say nice things unless you mean them. You
No,
just won't say anything.
I won't say anything.
Yeah. You just
Right?
won't say anything.
But I do think that's what makes us unique is the chemistry and the camaraderie. Right? It's not the individual talent. I'm not taking anything away from that or saying anything about that. It's everybody has each other's back. And it's Josh looks out for us and I try to look out for Ben and Ben for me and me for Jess and just what's best. And I'm telling you, I got away from the call and the voice, and I'm like, yep, that guy is going to be a great team player. That's all I cared about. because it's so chaotic.
Yeah.
And it's a lot. Like when he sees his reads and the lives, and
There's a lot going on.
it's a lot.
There's a lot going on. I haven't done a Nebraska football game, obviously, but I've done a couple Creighton broadcasts.
It's overwhelming.
There's a lot going on, and I know there's that much more for Nebraska.
And Ben has these gifts where he can signal and talk in shorthand. Even for me, like he'll have these things like cranked out and stats ready because he knows how I think. He'll talk to me in such it may look like chicken scratch or hieroglyphics,
but you understand it.
But I understand it.
Yeah.
Because he knows how I think and vice versa. So it's like I always talk about, if I'm saying something, like Jess knows, okay, if I'm going to validate or substantiate what he's saying, let me go get some real life examples. I'm going to go get in this huddle. I'm going to go listen to this coach.
Yeah.
Or if she has the idea first, hey, last year could be, hey, Coach Knighton's got the D line over. He's talking about get off and using hands, right? Like good eye placement. Then I can weave that in to an analysis on what's happened with a play. Like it's just like that's how it works. Nobody's kind of operating on an island. We're all kind of in unison.
It's kind of funny because there's a couple areas in life as you're kind of describing that dynamic there that pop into my mind. The first one was, hey, if Nebraska football can replicate what the Nebraska broadcast booth has, we'll be in good shape.
Yeah. Right?
Everybody's worried. Everybody's concerned about getting each other's back and making sure that everybody operates in the optimal way as a team. But I was also thinking about just I think the dynamics of being more concerned about the outcome as a whole, as opposed to just being concerned about your place in the outcome and your piece of the outcome, because it's really easy to go and be, if you're like a sideline reporter like Jess, for instance, it's really easy to go, hey, I'm just going to get the most interesting thing I can get.
And what did I tell you I was blown away by? Her
ability to like listen to you guys and go and get
actually
something
listen, because that's what I like to do.
Yeah.
But I thought like the only reason I did it, it wasn't natural to me. It was when I started at BTN and I would do these broadcasts, like the guys that were the people that they would bring in, if it wasn't Kugler, there was a 99% chance I knew more about the team than they did.
Sure.
So they left my mic open.
Yeah.
And they would just throw it down to me live. Like I was their version of Saragusa. So I got used to listening to the broadcast because I knew I didn't want to, I either wanted to accentuate or give a add-on. I didn't want, because Kugler, he'd always, oh man, give him a reason to break away. Just give him a reason to break away. Like otherwise don't interrupt the broadcast.
Yeah.
Cool. Enough said. So when Jess was doing it naturally, what I come back and say, I'm like, I've got to figure out a way to utilize her because she's probably like, well, duh, why wouldn't I listen to the broadcast? I'm just telling you.
Not everybody does.
Not everybody does.
Yeah.
Not.
Some people are just looking for their moment to try and make their part of the broadcast, especially because a lot of people, I don't know what, like in your situation when you were with BTN, like a lot of people, that's not their career aspiration is to be on the sideline. It's to be,
it wasn't.
Right? It's to be the color guy.
I prefer, or
whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so you're trying, a lot of people are like, well, let me just make it undeniable that I should be in the booth instead of down here.
And you know what happened?
Yeah.
From the sideline analyst, it's like, all right, let's not try to find the biggest name to be in the booth. Let's
get the right guy.
This guy's pretty all right.
Let's get the guy that's good, right?
Yeah, so that was kind of the first thing that drew me to the collaborative effort.
And then I'm thinking about, weirdly, I think about private equity way too much. It's just a thing that lives in my head a lot.
You were the big private equity guy to bail out schools for NIL. No, anyway, keep going.
I was the big, like, don't do that. You're going to lose your athletic department. But it's also what you're talking about is the exact.
That too.
Yeah. Thank you for characterizing my argument there. It's like the Rust thing all over again. But it's like.
Do I need to go back to the Jurassic Park example? You made it personal.
Well, listen. I get out of line. That's part of who I am. A lot of it, though, is you're talking about whether it's being worried about the whole versus the individual parts, right? A lot of people take a private equity mindset where it's like, hey, if I can get value out of individual parts, then I don't care about the whole anymore. And at the cost of the whole a lot of times. Like, oh, I can get value at this part of the company and I can get value at this part of the company. I'm going to strip it off for parts. I'm going to make a profit, but I have killed the thing that I bought.
Yeah.
Right?
Even when we were brainstorming, we were playing to each other's strengths. I was like, oh, he'll probably do that because he's comfortable around Jess, or she's disarming, or he can do this, and then we can do this with these were not my ideas, by the way. These were ideas that were being floated around real time, which is why I was texting Coach Rule. Right? I'm just like, oh, it doesn't do us really any good to be hypothesizing about this if it's not something he's actually gonna be willing. And the first thing he said, well, yeah, I mean, if that's what Jess wants to do, that's fine. I was like, really? Like,
is that what we're doing?
That's what we're on.
That's what we're doing.
But it was just,
yeah,
it was a microcosm. And then to hear Coach Rule just expand with the radio network about the partnership and how to next level it from a financial standpoint.
Yeah.
Did it turn into like a mini brain session, a mini brainstorming session? It was incredible. And that's why Kyle was like, you can just tell how Coach Rule thinks. He's constantly thinking about what's next.
Yeah.
Right? How does this fit into the process? How can we fit with what we see as cutting edge that other schools are trying to do, so we're not on the outside looking in?
So you know what's funny about, so Kyle was talking about that. He's like, you know, you've got guys that are getting out of it and becoming coordinators and stuff, and you've seen that. He said to the NFL, you've seen it, guys just take college. I mean, Dan Holgerson, there's one on our staff right now, right? Where he's like, I don't know if I want to do this, but I really like calling plays, right? And let me just get back to what I'm good at, and I guess I'll just make low seven figures instead of high seven figures, and I'll probably be able to get by on that, you know. But it's kind of funny though. I genuinely think, and I don't know if Coach Rule would put it in these terms, and maybe we can get him on this summer and ask him about it, but there's a part of me that thinks he enjoys this even more now, because I think he looks at the landscape and he goes, oh, there's a lot of stuff.
He wants it to be about survival of the fittest, so advantage him.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's like, there's a lot of stuff that everybody else doesn't understand yet. That means I've got opportunities.
Yep. That's I'm gonna. I mean, and we could ask him, but I'm gonna guess you're right.
Like, the more chaos there is, the more uncertainty there is. He's like, okay, I know I can thrive here. I'll take my chances on me.
He said it at Big Ten Media Days.
Yeah.
Those that work the hardest and the smartest
they'll survive the chaos.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So I think he actually looks at the landscape of college football and he's like, yeah, muddy that thing up. Let's go. He's like, you know what? Because I trust me, and I know not everybody else operates like I do.
And it's weird that I would gravitate towards somebody like that, right? Because why did I tell you Caleb ultimately liked Nebraska outside of the relationships, even post-Coop leaving? If it's about survival of the fittest,
I'll bet on me.
That plays to my strengths. While everybody else is falling by the wayside.
If it's about enduring, I'll take my chances.
Yeah, no handouts. You gotta go get it. Right? Like that's how you want it.
Yeah, no, that's something that I can definitely appreciate, and I do think it's a little funny because, you know, you do have you have people within the fan base kind of worrying about like, well, how much longer is Coach Rule going to want to do this? And like, there's a lot of chaos. I was like, I think he loves this. I think he sits back and goes, all right, now I can eat.
Yeah, and he's so stinking competitive too. Like, I think he's just dead set to return Nebraska to national relevance.
Yeah.
Right. Without, this is independent of bringing steer into the weight room or boom boxes or anything else. It's just he understands what he's dealing with, and I think he wants just tell him what the rules are, and he'll play any game you want to.
And if you don't tell me what the rules are, I'll do it my way until you do.
Until you tell us not to.
That's the I think that's fascinating. That kind of little bit there about Coach Rule versus what some of the other coaches have done here, and then that thing about Ben McLaughlin that Kyle talked about. Like, those are the two things I think are going to stick with me.
The real-time self-awareness?
Yeah, like his real-time empathy for Ben in that moment, understanding, hey, this is coming off a certain way, but if I kind of parse through it a little bit.
And he was so cool with it.
Yeah. Like, if I parse through it a little bit, not only do I understand, because it started like, oh, if I really listen to what he's saying, like, he's got my back.
Yeah.
Right. But then he even went, what really got me is he went the step further of, well, okay, he's got my back. It's coming off a little aggressive maybe or a little harsh. Why is it coming off that way? And then he got to the point and he goes, oh, I know that Greg and Ben were best friends.
Yep.
I know that this has been harder on him than anybody else. I know he's been in the baseball booth without his best friend for the past few months.
Yeah.
Like he went from, oh, he's got my back. Maybe his presentation just isn't as pretty as I'd like it to be or whatever. He went past that to be like, well, I've heard good things about this guy. I've heard about who he is as a person and that he's a good guy and all this kind of stuff. So why is the
Yeah, just to kind of see Ben's heart. Like it took me a little bit to think to myself, B-Mac may say something to me like, why did you buy AirPods that you don't know how to set up? Or I don't know why this alarm is acting like this on your phone. Like, you're the only ding dong I know with Android. Like he'll say these kinds of things.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
And he'll whatever the problem is, like he can fix it and he'll give it back to me. And 5 minutes later he'll say, hey, are you good? Is everything working okay?
Yeah.
I was like, hey man, yeah, I appreciate that. I could lose something on my computer. Hey, I can't. It's locked. I can't find. And now he's gonna let me have it real time.
Yeah.
Like, but it's cool because I know he actually wants what's best for me, right?
He's just gonna give you a couple jabs on the way.
Yeah. So, and for him to pick up on that, like his perspective while he's going through that, I thought was, and even I didn't know that real time.
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna lie, I looked at Jess and I kind of sunk. I was like, oh no.
You thought you were gonna scare him off.
I was a little concerned.
And listen, you've told me,
and I'm you know what I mean? But like I was a little concerned.
You've told me some of the stories about how some of the interviews went, and you're like, yeah, Ben's kind of coming in hot and whatever. And I know basically all the things that Kyle has talked about there, and I didn't put those things together.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what I'm saying. And you love Ben.
I see a lot of myself in that.
Give me that cheddar, we getting Rico. Big money rolls like burritos. Give me that hot sauce, no pico. Give me that.
Avery Howard here with Harrison Phillips. Harrison, this is your 7th Playmakers Camp here in Omaha. As you grow in your NFL career, why has this always remained a priority for you?
You know, it's really special. I don't know what jersey I'm going to wear each season. It's not really up to me. I'm very happy that I've been a part of 2 great organizations. But something that's forever true is this is my high school, and this is where I'm starting a family. I'm building a home here with my wife, who's a Millard West grad. We just had a child who's going to grow up a Nebraskan. And, this one means the most.
Standing here in the Millard West gym, what do you think the high school version of you would think, knowing you'll be doing these camps in the future and where you went to high school?
Man, the high school me was pretty cocky. I would say he'd be very proud of himself. I always spoke really big goals and set them really far off. I was kind of laughed at a little bit, being a little freshman saying I'm going to play in the NFL and get full ride scholarships and stuff. But I worked my ass off to make that happen. So I'd be really proud, and I think the most important thing is bringing others along the way. So being able to be out here to these high school students, a thing that I wish I had. I wish I had someone that I could have asked about what it's like going to college, what's it like to get to the next level. And so when we bring these Nebraska football players out and these high school kids, I want to be a resource to them as well as use my platform for these pups.
At Centris Federal Credit Union, we We have the tools and resources to help our members fulfill their financial goals, with a focus on building a stronger community for the next generation of leaders. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
What makes Banana Ball work so well in terms of the fans, the support, and everything that's gone with it?
I think it's just the breaking down the barrier between fan and player. When you go to a Major League Baseball game, even though there might not be a barrier, it might just be a net, there's a distinct barrier where like players and fans don't really interact during the game. And we're bringing fans onto the field, into our game. Like every fan that comes to our game is going to be involved somehow. Every single one of them. They're all going to be involved if they want to be. So I guess that's my advice too. When you come to a Bananas game, be open to doing anything. Don't say no to an opportunity. My niece actually, we do a fan warm up before every game. We have a little girl come on the field and dance, and the whole stadium follows the dance moves. My niece said no because she was nervous. And to this day, every single day I see her, she's like, I want to do the fan warm up. I want to do the fan warm up. So like when you come to a game, just be open to doing whatever.
We are joined now by Trey Taylor, Nebraska 2027 quarterback commit. Trey, how are you this morning?
I'm great. How about you?
Oh, good. We are good. We appreciate you taking the time. We've got it on good authority. You're in the middle of speed training, and the link was giving you fits, and so you're adapting, hitting a curveball, and doing the phone with us, man. So we appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem.
Trey, I got to ask you. So I've been fascinated watching since you've committed to Nebraska how quickly you've gone to work in terms of advocating for the university. Was that discussed through your recruiting process with Nebraska, or how did that come about where you just felt so convicted to be like, hey, now that I'm in, we got to get everybody else going too?
I think it's always kind of been like a plan in place for me to heavily recruit, honestly, wherever I went. But how nice Nebraska is and just the coaching staff and facilities, it just makes it 10 times easier to recruit there. So like people talk about how I've suddenly shown how I really want to get a mod to Nebraska, but people don't really see how this process has been going on for a little bit over 6 to 8 months really of me texting him and us just building this relationship. So the recruiting process, it's been going on, and me recruiting kids and trying to get all of us together in one place. It's been going on for a while.
One of the things I'm fascinated by, and I've watched you for a while, and the background, I do play-by-play for the university and for the network, and I've gone to school there. I've got a kiddo that's on the team there now. I've seen this thing for 30 years up close, and so I always watch young people, and I always say to our fan base and people across the state of Nebraska, you always want to start with players that don't need a babysitter, right? That are self-motivated, that haven't always had the highest of highs, and have kind of managed lows. Like rigor is hard in college. One of the things that fascinates me about you, watching you so far, is your emotional maturity, where you seem like you've been here before. Like maybe you should have been born in another decade or I don't know what it is, but very, very savvy and experienced for your age. help our listeners or help me better understand like where that comes from, like where those seeds were planted in terms of how you deal with your day to day.
I mean, really, obviously from my parents, they've grown and installed that into me. But at the end of the day, a lot of it comes with having that emotional part is having hard days, you know, that people don't always see. So when it looks like it's a hard day, it's really just a normal day in the office. So for me, it's really like I've definitely gone through a lot more than what you guys have seen so far, as you know, just football alone, just like that part. So really, you kind of got to think about like what worse have I been through, and where does this stand, right? So, and I think of it like this: I'm in college. I'm in a college atmosphere now. Like this can't be this day was hard. No, it's got to be this day was easy, and it gets harder.
Wow. That's incredible. See, people make fun of me, Trey, because sometimes, you know, I overshare and I tell this story about being benched on national television against UCLA in the early 90s and kind of how it was the springboard for me to understand highs and lows and to navigate. And you're always talking about how we don't see what's the hard part of actual football. When you're going through those days and you may not want to get up or the workout is tough or we may only see the stats. We don't see maybe you're hurt or maybe the teammates aren't vibing or maybe the hometown fans are hard on you because you're not going to that school or whatever it is. How do you reset? Like where's the point in which you tell yourself, like from a self-awareness standpoint, like, you know what? This isn't that bad. On to the next thing. Like, how do you do that self-awareness real time?
Honestly, it's for the high school part. It's I got everybody watching me, and like that's as simple as it is. You can't expect to be a leader and not have everybody watching you. So I think that's the biggest part. And then, you know, thinking ahead to college football, I got, again, everybody watching me, and there's even bigger standards there. So it's not living up to those standards, it's living up to my standards.
Trey, so as you talk about that and you talk about living up to your standards, I can see why you and Coach Rule vibed right off the bat there, because that's something he talks about.
He sounds just like you.
Constantly. Sounds like we're talking to a clone of Coach Rule here, actually, a little bit, which I love. But I do wonder, like, with that, hey, everybody's watching. To you, you know, Coach Rule has this saying, pressure is a privilege. Is that how you navigate the fact that there is a little bit more pressure with everybody's watching? You understand that's part of the privilege of what you get to do?
Yeah, I think pressure is more of something people put on themselves, because you shouldn't have pressure if you love what you're doing.
From a preparation standpoint, Trey, one of the things that Coach Rule talks about is like just your football acumen, your football IQ. And sometimes I think people think, oh, you know, it's just 7-on-7. It's not real football. Then they go back and they pit it against the tape. When you're talking about acumen or football IQ, I should say, how does 7-on-7 help you as it relates to what you actually are going to be doing on Friday nights and eventual on Saturdays?
Well, 7-on-7 is a lot faster than real football, if we're being honest. I mean,
wow. Said no one ever. I like it.
Well, so like think about it. Yeah, there's no O line or D line, but you, instead of linebackers, you have DBs.
Mm-hmm.
So you're literally going against 7 DBs. So windows get shorter. Kids are, DBs now are 6'3", 6'2", 6'3" with long arms. So those windows get closer, they get shorter, everything needs to be everything needs to be faster. So you also get, yes, that's true. Well, 7-on-7 is also easier because you get a clearer picture because you don't have the O-line, D-line from a quarterback standpoint. So you see more clear the safeties rotate. You see when they spread. You see when a backer flies out and they leave the middle wide open. So like you see that part easier, but it moves faster too because they don't need to play the run game. They're just flying to the spots, and that's the truth in my opinion.
So Trey, as you're looking at, obviously you had the 7-on-7 with Battle at the Boneyard over the course of the weekend. I know you've been here a ton, but I know for a lot of the other guys that were here, it was their first time. Think back to your first time when you got on campus. It seems like a lot of people are kind of surprised at what Nebraska has to offer. What surprised you the first time you stepped on campus about what Nebraska actually had here?
A fan base.
What about a lot of stuff we hear about is fan base, facilities, just the cities around the university. How did that kind of impress you as you started to get more familiar with the area?
I mean, very impressive. I kind of know Lincoln like the back of my hand now. I went around it a lot this week, so it impressed me. But we're not going to school for a city. We're going to school for football and making sure that the city is represented well.
Trey, it's interesting you're kind of watching this process, and just you have a couple of more years to go. How do you stay dialed in, kind of on the day-to-day, knowing that the future is what it is right now?
Like I said, when you love what you're doing, you live not day by day, but by workout, and really just here I'm worried about my workout right now, not my workout later with my team. So,
I mean, what are we talking about? Trey, how old are you again?
16.
When's your birthday?
September 2nd.
How long you been driving?
About to be a year and 2 months.
Oh,
3 months.
Just giving some perspective out there for those that are listening. Okay, so let's talk about kind of the process. I don't have the courage to ask my own kid. He had a recruit in town Saturday night with CJ, and our relationship, I try not to. It's father-son, so I don't want to say, well, gosh, why do they want you as a host, right? You just hope that it goes well. What have you been telling other guys about Nebraska that you think is kind of the mainstay of why people should be there, as somebody that's been a pretty good ambassador so far for the university in terms of your recruiting efforts? What is it that you gravitate towards, that you tell people that you think is why they should be in Lincoln?
That Coach Rule is going to be the realest coach that you're going to get. I mean, he's going to tell it to you straight to your face whether you like it or not. So,
what does real mean, Trey? What does real mean? Is it sometimes he hurts your feelings and it's like he has my best interests at heart? Like, what does real mean for you?
I have a great example, actually.
Let's go.
Sunday at camp, obviously I had thrown a lot. I thrown quite a bit in at the 7-on-7. And it was more so from the coaching staff. They were more so a little freaked out. I might have been throwing a little too much, especially because they didn't know how much I was throwing at home. So Coach Rule came and, hey, I'm your coach now, right? I'm going to pull you. You're done. More so just walk around, recruit, and, there's no need for you to throw anymore. I think that's the real part. Obviously, I didn't want to hear that because that's work I'm losing, but that's what I needed, and that's the best interest at heart for me.
Man, we hear that from a lot of guys that are on campus now, right after they've gotten to know Coach Rule, is, sometimes he'll tell you something you don't want to hear, but part of it, the reason that they listen is because they understand early that he's got their best interest at heart. When did you realize that Coach Rule had your best interest at heart?
I'm going to say my last visit before committing there is when I really realized it. You know, I'd heard about it and everything, but it was different. You know, with him, it was, you know, yes, we want you here. Yes, we really want you here. But if this isn't the best fit for you, then it's going to end up being a bad situation where you're going to be here and then you're going to be in the portal, or like this is going to hurt the team more than it's going to benefit you. So, you know, if Nebraska wasn't the best fit for me, then it shouldn't have came or committed. And for other schools, it was what's the best fit for the university.
Mm.
And he made a good point. You got to care more about the name on the back of your jersey than the name on the front of your jersey.
Trey, easy person to cheer for. I'm glad our fan base is getting a chance with kind of you doing this car wash a little bit of doing a few interviews with some of the local folks, man. You get better each time, and proud of your accomplishments up to this point. We'll be cheering like crazy for you in the upcoming season, and it's hard to believe we got to wait 2 more of them till we get you, but huge fans of the work, man, and Nebraska knows they got a good one.
Thank you very much. Go Big Red.
Appreciate you, Trey. That's Trey Taylor, Nebraska 2027 quarterback commit. Got to get back to his workout.
Hey, did you catch the last part?
Yeah.
We literally just talked about you got to be for the university as much as the university is for you, and how other schools have been recruiting them just the other way.
Backwards.
I'm not dumb.
It's how everybody recruits, I think, for the most part. I think that's how most people recruit. What can you do for university? What can the university do for you?
If they win,
it's going to be a monster. And you're not going to – here's the thing. You're not going to get everybody because that's not for everybody.
No, I understand that.
But the ones you get, watch out. Watch out. Because it's not for everybody.
Shout out to those in the back.
You know, the people gave it a hard time when that was the state slogan. Nebraska, it's not for everybody. It's really not.
It's not.
But for the people it's for, you love it here.
Give me that cheddar, we getting Rico. Big money rolls like burritos. Give me that hot sauce, no pico. Give me that.
Here with Harrison Phillips. Harrison, this is your 7th Playmakers Camp here in Omaha. As you grow in your NFL career, why has this always remained a priority for you?
You know, it's really special. I don't know what jersey I'm going to wear each season. It's not really up to me. I'm very happy that I've been a part of 2 great organizations. But something that's forever true is this is my high school, and this is where I'm starting a family. I'm building a home here with my wife, who's a Millard West grad. We just had a child who's going to grow up a Nebraskan. And, you know, this one means the most.
Standing here in the Millard West gym, what do you think the high school version of you would think, knowing you'll be doing these camps in the future and where you went to high school?
Man, the high school me was pretty cocky. I would say he'd be very proud of himself. I always spoke really big goals and set them really far off. I was kind of laughed at a little bit, being a little freshman saying I'm going to play in the NFL and get full-ride scholarships and stuff. But I worked my ass off to make that happen. So I'd be really proud, and I think the most important thing is bringing others along the way. So being able to be out here to these high school students, a thing that I wish I had. I wish I had someone that I could have asked about what it's like going to college, what's it like to get to the next level. And so when we bring these Nebraska football players out and these high school kids, I want to be a resource to them as well as use my platform for these pups.
At Centris Federal Credit Union, we have the tools and resources to help our members fulfill their financial goals. With a focus on building a stronger community for the next generation of leaders. Centris Federal Credit Union. We are where you are.
What makes Banana Ball work so well in terms of the fans, the support, and everything that's gone with it?
I think it's just breaking down the barrier between fan and player. When you go to a Major League Baseball game, even though there might not be a barrier, it might just be a net, there's a distinct barrier where like players and fans don't really interact during the game. And we're bringing fans onto the field, into our game. Like every fan that comes to our game is going to be involved somehow. Every single one of them. They're all going to be involved if they want to be. So I guess that's my advice too. When you come to a Bananas game, be open to doing anything. Don't say no to an opportunity. My niece actually, we do a fan warm-up before every game. We have a little girl come on the field and dance, and the whole stadium follows the dance moves. My niece said no because she was nervous. And to this day, every single day I see her, she's like, I want to do the fan warm-up. I want to do the fan warm-up. So like, when you come to a game, just be open to doing whatever.
Joining us now is 2026 Nebraska
man,
running
it's
back
geared up.
commit Jamal Rule, looking good in the red Nebraska gear. Jamal, what's going on, man?
What's up? How y'all doing?
Oh, good. I love the personality too, man. Coach Barthel was at the full disclosure. One running back talking to another. I had to rock the end today just for you because I'll be down in Lincoln today, going back to my alma mater, man. But congratulations. Does anybody call you Ja? Right? Or is that because it's already taken from a famous musician? They give you your own nickname.
They really just call me Rule. They
Rule?
call me Rule. Yeah, they just call me by my last name. People
Oh,
don't
you'll
really
do well
call
in
me Ja like
education. Though. Teachers are always called by their last name. I don't think people think teachers have real first names. But how's it feeling, man? Couple days removed in my old stomping grounds. I used to live in the Charlotte area way back when, man. How does it feel that you've made it official and it's done and over with?
feels great. I'm not gonna lie, it's a big weight off my shoulders. The recruitment process, it was fun, but it was also stressful at times, definitely. So yeah.
Go ahead.
So, Jamal, I was going to say, a lot of people I don't think understand kind of the stressors involved with the recruiting process. There is a lot of pressure. You have people coming after you really hard. Like, to you, what was kind of something that was a little bit more stressful than you were anticipating as you kind of got down to these final couple schools that you were looking at?
Actually making a decision for sure. Because like the schools that I had, all of them, they were great schools. Like I could have rolled the dice or whatever when I went to. I'd have been happy. So like really having to like sit down, do research, you know, just check behind yourself, check behind the schools, and actually make your decision. It was definitely harder than I thought. Not gonna lie.
Well, so Jamal, what was it about Nebraska that behind the scenes, like if it's how the sausage was made that the fan base may not know, what was it that drew you to them at the end of the day after all the bells and whistles? What were the guts of it that brought you to Nebraska?
I just like the people there, hanging out with Matt Rhule, Dana, Coach EJ, some of the players, it just felt like family, We went out on my official visit, we went to go eat, it was just all fun and games. and I was sitting with the players. It was just fun. It was just fun to hang out with them. So yeah,
Where'd they take you to eat?
it was the Capitol. It was the Capitol building.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They must like you. It was a good meal. What
Yeah, I think so a little
what
bit.
what'd you order?
I had I think it was like a steak and lobster tail with like
Okay.
some mashed potatoes. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, the profiler in me tells you that with that elegant of a meal, you're a good student. Is that true?
Oh yeah, I'm
Uh,
a good student.
there you go. There you go.
I always got to keep I got to keep that first. If I don't do that well, I can't get on the field. So yeah.
So it's interesting. I was born and raised here. I signed with Carolina when I was coming out of college, and so I spent a lot of time in the Charlotte area. And I love Omaha. And I always tell people if I was going to move, I would go back to that Charlotte, that Carolina kind of area. You said something that's interesting. You said the people were so nice. That's one thing I would say about that region where you are is kindness. Was that kind of a vibe that you were picking up on, where the people were just so good natured and kind of for you that you were kind of drawn to that?
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, up here, everybody, it just, they gravitate towards each other. And then whenever you go up to Lincoln, especially since I was, on the official visit to Nebraska, they all about the Nebraska football team. So like even when I committed on the last day, I went to this it was a MJ Broadway show. And like the guards up there were like, "Oh, can I take a picture? I want to take a picture with the new star running back that's gonna be there in a couple of years." Yeah, just everybody was just great.
So, did they talk to you at all about what about your game, the coaching staff? What about your game specifically did they like and made them kind of zero in on wanting to have you part of this team?
They said my physicality, and they say I play the running back position the way it's supposed to be played.
Mm.
Said my explosiveness, my size, and for me to have my speed at my size.
I guess low 200s. If you stepped on the scale today, what number would it tell me?
208.
Okay.
Ooh,
All
not too
right.
bad.
All
All
right.
right, so I'm watching a little film. I said one of the things that I really like about you is even running out of kind of that pistol set. Sometimes it's hard to get downhill, and you get zone steps, but I love the way you run behind. It's called what I call it running behind your pads, where when you go into contact, people feel you. I'm like he's a heavy runner when you go into contact. Is that something that's by design? Are you're taking advantage of your size? It's how you've always ran the football. Like, what is it? Whose running style did you emulate?
I mean, people call me up here. They call me Isaiah Pacheco because I run so hard. But
Mm.
like even as a little child, like uh, some people don't know this, but back when I was like little, I had some bad anger issues. That's actually how I got into football because my parents was like, "Bro, I need to do something with this kid. He's
I
doing
could
too much.
relate.
He's picking up chairs, doing all this stuff." So they was like, we just got to put him in something, and that's how I stumbled on the football field. And
How'd you?
oh, go ahead, go ahead.
No, go finish the story. I
Uh,
got to follow up.
yeah, my first position was center. That's just because when I was little, I was still a little chubby and a little big, so people thought I couldn't move like that. So they put me in the backfield, and then the rest is history. After that, yeah.
You, you know what's interesting about that? One of my former teammates at Nebraska, running back by the name of Clinton Childs. You got to look up his film. For 2 years in middle school, he played offensive line,
I could see that. He's a big dude.
and yeah, he's like Eric Dickerson, though. I mean, the dude is like a gazelle. It's just weird how I always tell does playing O line and kind of snapping the ball and kind of being close to the line of scrimmage, does that make you? Did you learn to appreciate the guys up front a little more, having
Yeah,
had to do that early?
yeah, definitely. I didn't expect it to be that hard, but especially the center position, having to worry about snapping it, standing up, and still blocking, like it's a lot.
Can you still
So
snap?
yeah. I think I'm pretty good. I wouldn't. I'll say I'm about a good 7, 8 out of 10. I wouldn't say
Wait,
it's perfect, but
can you long snap?
oh no, I don't think that.
Okay, I was gonna
That
say
that takes a little bit
you
more
you you
technique.
play
I
for
don't think
another
I have.
15 years if you could long snap. Okay,
Yeah.
I just looking for a little clarity.
We're talking with Jamal Rule, 2026 Nebraska running back commit. Jamal, so obviously from the Carolina, Charlotte area, was there a lot of guys have different priorities in their recruiting process? As you were kind of looking at Nebraska, obviously it's a long way from home. How much was that part of your consideration, or what were your priorities when looking at a school?
Yeah, obviously I don't like being away from my family, but like at the end of the day, this is the best place for me, I believe. So, and what I was looking at, I wanted a family environment, uh, you know, and then a place where I can be developed on and off the field because I'm gonna be a person way longer than I'm gonna be a football player. So, and
Mm,
then also I wanted a coaching staff that, I could come to about problems on and off the field, if I'm having struggles on the field, I can go to EJ or even like off the field if I'm going through something, be like, can I talk to you real quick?
interesting. Yeah, did you notice how close, how tight knit that running back room is? It's amazing how well those guys get along in such a range of age.
Yeah, it's yeah, they're all great. I got a chance to talk with a little bit of all of them. Got a chance to talk to Isaiah, talk to Emmett, you know, talk to Ives. They're all of them. Yeah, they're all rooting for each other. That's one of the things I like about the room. They're not even though they're competing with each other because they all want to get on the field. They still uplift each other for their accomplishments.
So can you get a gauge of running styles when you think about those running backs' personalities?
Uh, I mean, I think Emmett is, a little bit more shifty, but drop his shoulder when he has to. Ives, it looks to me like he's a little bit more physical, but he has good
He's the
speed.
biggest of the bunch.
Yeah, yeah, it looks to me like he's more physical. And Isaiah, I really can't tell, but he was a wide receiver and he transferred to a running back, so I would guess that he's a little bit more shifty
Did
than
you get a
Ives.
chance to meet Makai?
I don't believe so.
Okay. All right. I was just trying to get gauging your profile skills. I kind of like it.
That's DB's personal favorite is Makai.
I
He said,
wouldn't say that.
I
I
would.
like them all. I cheer for the young guys. So Jamal, when you're taking a look at kind of you mentioned Coach Holgerson, and he's hilarious. I would always talk to him about distance and traveling, and he looked at me and he said, "You do realize that airplanes have been invented. Like most things are like a 2-hour flight. We'll be fine. We're in the middle of the country." Because I was talking about him, recruiting coasts and things like that. Is that something that they kind of talk to you about? Where, yeah, you may be away from family. You'll get a new family when you get to Lincoln, but it's still just an airplane flight away.
Yeah, that's one of the things that they were talking about because I think out of all the schools that are in my Final Four, this was the farthest away. But they were just like, it's really only like 2 hours, and 2 hours really ain't that long, honestly. So yeah.
Mm. Jamal, last thing from me here. What are you most excited about the University of Nebraska and getting on campus in the fall?
I'm excited about the first game, going through the tunnel and seeing all the fans because,
Mm.
they have a whole bunch of sellouts. So I'm excited to see all 9,000 fans as soon as we go out, just 90, sorry, 90,000, not 9,000. I'm so sorry. But yeah, 90,000 fans, you know, just all cheering whenever we come out. Yeah, that's what I'm excited for.
Let me get you out on this. What with the hay kind of being in the barn for your college choice? How are you approaching this final season of what you want to get accomplished on the gridiron?
One thing I gotta win a state championship. That's the
Are you
one thing I needed. I need to check off my high school career. And other than that, I'm just, getting my body ready. I'm training like I'm already in college because I'm a mid-year, and before I know it, it's gonna be December, and I'm gonna be in college. So yeah.
how impressed were you with the strength and conditioning and the nutrition part of it, which I think is an absolute strong as an asset for this university.
Yeah, that's one of the things I base my decision on,
There you
actually.
go.
The strength and conditioning program. I mean, it's a great group of guys. I actually got to like, do a little something with them. They let all the recruits dress out and, do like a little warm up. So yeah, that was great. They're all disciplined. Everything has to be on time. And the nutrition, I mean, it's great. They got the little training table, and they have a full spread out.
I'm going to give you
Yeah.
one of the answers to the test, okay? Make sure that you're extra kind to Kristen. Make
Oh
sure
yeah,
you
I will
listen to
be.
everything she says because don't let that little small stature fool you. She is an
Yeah,
absolute menace,
yeah.
but she'll get you right.
hmm
Did you get that feel from her?
Yeah, I did. It seems like she seems like a lion almost, She's cool, but like if you step in her territory too much, she'll pounce on you. So yeah.
Ooh, I think I might go with that with her. All right.
Jamal, we appreciate the time. We appreciate you showing your faith in the University of Nebraska. We look forward to seeing you in December.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all.
All right, Jay Rule. We'll see you, buddy.
That's
All right.
Jamal Rule, Nebraska 2026 running back commit. Good stuff there.